starting at a place known as El Bur in the Kenya-Ethiopia border in Marsabit County, coming all the way to 100 kilometers from Nanyuki at a place known as Oldo Nyiro, coming to Suswa. All that is 612 kilometers, and the transmission line, as you've rightly said, will be built across those towns to connect more homes, to connect more towns, to connect more locations to the national grid. But then again, the country right now has a national capacity of 2,333 megawatts, but they intend to show this up and connect more homes. President Uhuru Kenyatta, many energy stakeholders, including Energy CS Charles Kiter, are expected here today. Planning is underway. A lot of activities are happening at the back, and we will be bringing you that live here on NTV. But yes, this is a big event now. Suswa and the president, who would be here to launch this event and definitely talk a bit of politics. It will be coming to you live on NTV. Back to you, Ken.
Eden, reporting from Suswa, where the president is expected to launch a substation in Suswa. That is a substation by the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, and we'll be getting back to Suswa for a live event as soon as the president heads there. Remember, they also have a public rally right here in Nairobi at Uhuru Park. We'll also try and cross to Uhuru Park. But first, let's talk to Sean, who's in studio. He'll be giving us highlights of what to expect in sports later. Sean?
Yes, thank you very much, and a good morning to you. And it's absolutely incredible what's happening in terms of the World Athletics Championships. It finally gets underway today. Kenya in action in the 10,000 meters final, and three Kenyans aiming to stop a certain person called Mo Farah. Remember, this is his final championships before he moves to the road for a full-time career in road running. So we'll have the latest on that. And also Kenya in action in the women's 1500 meters heats, and also the 100 meters as well. There is an entry from Kenya. And also this man, Usain Bolt, he's in action in the 100 meters heats today, his final championships. So it is a massive day for Kenya. Remember, with the elections on, a lot of tension and all, it is sports that unifies Kenya, and Kenya has a chance this evening to unify Kenyans ahead of the elections. Ken?
Right, and just give us the highlights of sports yesterday. What happened in London? I saw you speaking to the sports editor, Makori, from London.
Yes, we will be linking up with him on Skype. He is in London. Elias Makori, of course, you can catch all the details, daily details, not only on NTV, but also in the Nation newspaper. So Elias Makori in London, we will be speaking to him via Skype. The other story, by the way, Ken, that's big, comes from the world of football. No doubt a lot of people following this. Neymar, a world record, 220 million euros. That translates to about 200 million pounds. It is incredible, the statistics behind that. And of course, we'll go through that a little bit later on sports. But yes, you're absolutely right. We will, of course, have a preview with Elias Makori right here on NTV.
Right. Thank you very much, Sean Really looking forward to all that sports in the next hour or so. Well, let's take you live now to Uhuru Park, where the Jubilee Party is expected to hold a public rally. We'll have the pictures shortly on your screen. Those are the pictures of the rally. It's just getting underway. They are preparing for the grand event. This will be the final rally, the Jubilee Party right here in Nairobi. Nairobi is a battle zone. In fact, reading from two surveys, that is Ipsos and Infotrack in the last week. Ipsos ranking the NASA presidential candidate as taking 56% of the votes in Nairobi, and also Infotrack ranking Nairobi for NASA at 56%, which means the Jubilee Party has barely 44%. And of course, this is the reason why Nairobi is very important for both these parties. So NASA and Jubilee are both capitalizing on the fact that this is the capital city, and Jubilee is seeking to overturn this ranking, which now puts NASA well ahead with about 56% and Jubilee at 44% in Nairobi. Both Infotrack and Ipsos. Those are live pictures. We'll be getting back to Uhuru Park as soon as we can, and as soon as the president and the Jubilee campaign team head to Uhuru Park. That is just one of the top stories we are following up for you right here on NTV Today, and of course on NTV. So as soon as we have more information and as soon as we have activity on the ground at Uhuru Park, we'll try and get you back there. Well, we try and also go back to take you now to Mombasa. And Mombasa, it's all about elections. Right now, everyone is looking forward to Tuesday, and everyone is speaking about election. Let's take you to Mombasa and listen in.
Kampeni yao kwa hali ya utulivu sana. Hatujakuwa na issue kubwa yoyote Mombasa. Any issue that has arisen, tumepeana security kwa mikutano yote ya kisiasa wakati wa campaign, na tumekuwa na utulivu wakati huu wa campaign, na ni matarajio yangu ya kwamba kifika tarehe 8 kila mkaazi wa Mombasa ataamuka asubuhi aende apige kura kwa amani na kisha rejee nyumbani aongojee matokeo. Mipango ya security tumekamilisha. Tumeweka mikakati mitaani, sehemu za burudani, sehemu za wananchi wanaenda kuabudu, sehemu wananchi wanaenda ku shopping malls. We have upscaled our security in all those areas. Kwa hivyo nataka kuhakikishia wananchi wa Mombasa wasiwe na wasiwasi wowote wakati huu ama msimu huu wa kupiga kura. Kila mwananchi, kila Mkenya ana haki ya kupiga kura mahali ambapo alichukulia kura yake. Kwa hivyo ni matarajio yangu ya kwamba kila mwananchi atakayeenda kwa kituo cha kupiga kura ataenda kwa heshima zake, apige kura yake, achague ile kiongozi wake bila wasiwasi wowote, bila kusumbuliwa, bila kuzuiliwa, na kwa sababu tumeweka usalama wa kutosha katika kila vituo. Material ya uchaguzi imefika Mombasa, imesambazwa na imechungwa vilivyo vile inavyotakikana. Kwa hivyo ni matarajio yangu ya kwamba wakati huo wa kupiga kura kila mwananchi aweze kujitokeza na afanye shughuli hiyo kwa njia ya heshima. Tumefanya mikutano mingi sana Mombasa ya amani. Tumekuwa na mikutano Likoni, tumekuwa na mikutano kuhamasisha wananchi Changamwe, Jomvu, Muvita, Kisauni, Nyali, kila mahali. Tumefanya mikutano ya kuuliza wananchi waweze kuwa na amani wakati msimu huu, wakati watu tutakuwa tunachagua viongozi wetu. Na tunasema Mombasa ya kwamba piga kura, usipige mtu, usiharibu mali ya mtu. Piga kura, chagua kiongozi unayependa, kisha uende nyumbani uongojee matokeo. Na kama kuna malalamiko yoyote kuhusu uchaguzi, yapeleke kwa kituo cha polisi ama kotini, ndio waweze kushughulikia mambo haya. So I want to assure Mombasa residents that the Mombasa County Security and Intelligence Committee has deployed adequately, and we are ready to cover the general election in Mombasa County. Tuko tayari. Tumejiandaa vilivyo. Ikiwa wewe unapanga kwa njia yoyote kuhujumu, kuharibu, kuleta vurugu katika kituo cha kupiga kura, hebu jaribu. Tunakuambia ujaribu. Utakutana na wanaume na wanawake ambayo wamejitayarisha kuhakikisha ya kwamba uchaguzi umefanyika kwa njia ya amani. Uje na panga, uje na kisu, tuko tayari. We are ready for you. Tunataka kila mwananchi aweze kupiga kura bila wasiwasi wowote. Wewe ukitisha wananchi, wewe ukiambia wananchi ati muhame, wewe ukiambia wananchi ati wanunue chakula zaidi, ati kutakuwa na fujo, hebu jaribu. Tutakufuata, tutakushika na utapelekwa mbele ya sheria. We are ready, tuko tayari. Ukilete vurugu yoyote, utajikuta kotini. Kwa hivyo naomba tena, nataka kutoa tahadhari kwa wale ambayo wanapanga. We are watching you. We will come for you. You will not escape. Hakuna mahali utatorokea. Bila shaka tutakupata. Wherever you are. We want a peaceful election in Mombasa, and I must make myself clear again. Tunataka uchaguzi wa amani Mombasa County. We must set the standards in Mombasa County. Hatutakubali. We will not allow mtu yoyote kulete fujo ya aina yoyote katika vituo vya kupiga kura. Tuko na askari wa kutosha wa kufanya hiyo kazi, na wamepewa vifaa vya kufanya kazi, vifaa vya kisasa, sio vile vifaa vya zamani. Kwa hivyo ukifanya fujo utaona. Pili na mwisho, ningelitaka kusema ya kwamba kuna sehemu ambazo baharini we will secure our waters effectively. Tutakuwa na patrols kuanzia port kwenda Mwakirunge mpaka huko chini Jomvu. Tutakuwa tuna patrol Mombasa yote. Marine Police is on high alert. Tutakuwa tuna patrol hiyo maji yote kuhakikisha ya kwamba vile ambavyo tumeweka askari wa kutosha katika Mombasa, pia maeneo yake tutakuwa tunaangalia vilivyo. Kuingia Mombasa, zile sehemu zote za kuingia Mombasa, pia tumeweka uangalifu zaidi. All entries to Mombasa tuko macho. And also let me remind you, probably wengine hamujui, ya kwamba Mombasa iko na CCTV cameras 24/7. We will also be watching. Tutakuwa tunaangalia. Na tumezungumuza pia hapa ya kwamba congestion at the ferry. Ferry pia tutaweka askari wa kutosha. Na tunatarajia ya kwamba kesho ferry ingine ikifunguliwa, hiyo congestion itapungua. Wakati hiyo ferry nyingine itakuwa launched, itapungua. So we are also keen at the ferry kuhakikisha ya kwamba kuna mpangilio wa kisawasawa katika ferry vile watu wanavuka. Vile vile tungelipenda kuuliza wale wana magari za mafuta, oil tankers. We demand that all oil tankers be parked in parking yards. Magari za mafuta zote, we demand that all oil tankers must be parked in designated areas. Hakuna gari ya mafuta ikiwa imebeba mafuta itapark ovyo ovyo hapa town. Traffic department has been given very clear instructions. Wakipata gari kama hiyo, ifutwe, ipelekwe mpaka kwa yard ambayo inatakikana kuwa. Vile vile matairi pia hatutaki kuona matairi kila mahali ovyo ovyo, na tunauliza County Inspectorate pia waangalie ya kwamba hakuna watu ambaye wamewekaweka ama wanaficha matairi mahali. Kwa hivyo mimi yangu tu ni kuhakikishia wakazi wa Mombasa ya kwamba ikiwa wewe ulichukulia kadi yako bara, naenda zako bara upige kura urudi. Na ikiwa wewe ulichukulia kadi yako ya kupiga kura hapa, uende upige kura yako ili tuweze kufanya shughuli hiyo kwa amani na tuweze kumaliza hiyo shughuli vizuri. Kesho tutakuwa na ile kongamano la mwisho la kuhamasisha wananchi ya amani, Freeze Mombasa. Kesho tutakuwa na kongamano kubwa sana asubuhi ya kujaribu kuhamasisha wananchi umuhimu wa amani. So we will not tire reminding Kenyans and Mombasa residents that we need each other. Nchi hii ni kubwa kuliko sisi. Mombasa ni kubwa kuliko sisi. Baada ya uchaguzi, nchi hii itaendelea. So let us conduct ourselves responsibly during this period. Tuweze kuwa na uchaguzi wenye amani na tuweze kuendelea baada ya hapo. So tuko tayari kwa vyovyote vile. Tuko na Red Cross hapa. Tumekaa na mkutano na Red Cross. Tumeangalia kama kuna jambo la dharura vile ambavyo tunaweza tukashughulikia. Red Cross wametoa, wako na volunteers. Tuko na ambulances za county government ambazo pia wametupatia, ambazo kama kuna jambo lolote tutaweza kushughulikia. Kwa hivyo tumejiandaa vilivyo kama Mombasa County kwa this event 2017 general elections. Thank you. Yes, Mwangangi.
Just a clarification on the oil tankers. What is the problem with them at the tires?
I'm saying oil tankers zikiwa packed kwa barabara, any person anaweza kuzitumia kwa njia mbaya. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri oil tankers zote ziweze kupakiwa mahali ambazo zinafaa kuwa packed. That is one way of averting a disaster. During this period we have to be very cautious. Petrol is one of those main causes of mass casualties. So we demand that petrol tankers be parked in designated places. Yes. Yes.
You mean that is effective from next week, or is already
Is already ongoing. We have to secure our waters. It is already ongoing. Yes.
someone saying that it's creating vernacular media? There is talks outside there that people should arm themselves in their houses in the eventuality that they might be attacked. Is this the advice that the security operators give to the general public?
My advice that I've given to the general public today is that don't panic. We have enough security officers. Tuko na polisi wa kutosha kuwalinda. Na tangu jana mumeona askari wakishika doria day and night. We want you to mutusaidie. Mwananchi, ukiona jambo lolote, toa habari. Ukisikia jambo lolote, piga ripoti kwa polisi so that we can also take action. Tungelitaka wananchi wasiwe na wasiwasi, wasinunue silaha kwa sababu tuko na uwezo wa kuwalinda. Yeah? It's just a match that will end up at Tononoka grounds, asubuhi.
Will you maybe shed some light on the numbers of the security officers that are working?
The numbers of?
The security officers that have already been going around.
We don't give numbers, but we have enough officers on the ground.
Just one more clarification. You spoke about election materials having arrived. Could you clarify which ones they arrived?
No, we don't know. We don't know which ones have arrived, but we know that we have received and we have secured. That is for the IEBC to say. But I know that the materials have arrived na zinachungwa. So wananchi wanatakikana kuripoti kwa polisi kwa kupiga nambari 999 999. That number is working. You can report using that. And also kuna ile mulika uhalifu. Where is that poster? Kwa ile poster. Kuna ingine tena tunaita mulika uhalifu 220 SMS number 22068. That is an SMS number. That one, if you see anything, your identity is not disclosed. Najua wananchi wengi hawataki kujulikana nani amepeana report. Even if it is me, yeah. Even if it is me, tafadhali, or any other officer you are reporting, report to this number. SMS Mulika Uhalifu 22068. Another hotline that we are launching today is 0789 999 396. That is another police hotline. And my number is also available 24/7. I know you, all of you have that number. So please call me. You have an important role to play during these national elections as media. Before you report any incident, please confirm with us, confirm with the police, let any incident that you are reporting be confirmed by an authorized officer, so that we also guard against kuongeza taharuki, sio? Si namna hiyo, Kemboi? Yeah? So if there is any issue that you have come across as a journalist, please let us know so that we can act on that. So we just wanted to assure Mombasa residents that we are on top of things. Tuko tayari. We are going to secure the residents of Mombasa and their properties. We are going to secure election officials. Tumewapatia askari. Tutawalinda. We are going to secure election material. We are going to secure polling station. Tumehakikisha kwamba kuna mataa za kutosha. Tumeongea na Kenya Power. All polling station itakuwa iko na mataa za kutosha. So all we ask is that Kenyans to be responsible, wapige kura kwa amani na waongoje matokeo. And remember, the polling station, you have to keep off 400 meters from the polling station. That is the law. Yes. Baadhi ya Sema jibu yeah.
Press tutawaruhusu kuingia kwa magereza kufanya coverage ya wafungwa kufanya hiyo voting process. We shall allow you in.
Just what about the time? The time going to be there all the time?
Carrying, there will be the agents who will be there.
Press will be allowed.
What for?
After the closing ceremony, for every single, we are allowed to test that.
We shall I will check with the presiding officer, and I'll post a message to you. If the presiding officer has no objection, I will allow you in.
Maybe another one from me. Since some journalists have faced violence in past incidents, are there any special arrangements to ensure that maybe journalists are accorded security when they're going to cover hotspots, maybe, for example, town or any other area for that matter? Is there maybe one hotline that would be dedicated for journalists alone, in case they are in distress or something like that?
No, there is no one hotline that will be dedicated to journalists, but we have a forum where we interact. Please just put whatever information you have, and then we will respond. But there is no hotspot in Mombasa. Old Town is the safest town. I was there last night, and I can assure you I really enjoyed my movements there last night. It is very secure. Mahali pako usalama umeimarishwa kabisa. Old Town. Yeah. Si hata Kisauni mmeona imetulia? Yeah? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to add?
And sorry, there are prisoners who registered in prison, but they have since been released. We shall also allow them to come and vote.
Oh. Okay, asanteni sana. Thank you so much for, na tuendelee kufanya kazi pamoja mpaka tumalize hii shughuli.
County Commissioner Evans Achoki speaking right there in Mombasa, issues revolving around security and the election, and most important is how they intend to secure Mombasa County. We'll be speaking to Peter Mwangangi in a few minutes, but just a brief summary of what he's saying is the elements they are trying to put in place to ensure that everything in Mombasa goes as planned, including the voting day, reiterating the fact that after voting, you need to be 400 meters away from the polling station. Remember, this stemmed from the call by NASA leaders that their voters should remain at the polling station. This has since changed, and they're now telling them to move away from the voting polling station until the counting period, and then they can go back to the polling station to guard the votes after they have been counted. So in Mombasa, they're taking all measures, including banning trucks, that is petroleum trucks, from town. And they're also asking the youth and any other person not to buy weapons. And they're also telling them to follow the guidelines set out at the polling station and to respect the authorities. And they have given hotline numbers so that people in Mombasa can report any incidents and bring the police to tell the police what's happening around them. And obviously, they're also urging the voters of Mombasa to stick to town, not to move away. And those who took their voting cards away from town, they're telling them they are free to travel, but they should not fear that there will be any violence in Mombasa. In fact, he gave an example of the old town, which Mr. Achoki says is very safe. We'll try and get Peter Mwangangi back to speak to him about this press conference and what's happening in Mombasa and just the situation ahead of the election. Remember, NASA is in Mombasa today. Well, let's move to other stories that we are also following up for you. Very importantly for this day, after 10 years of fighting his extradition case, Gilbert Dare of Dare Ministries in the UK has been extradited. Now, Dare arrived this morning at around 4 a.m. aboard the national carrier Kenya Airways. We understand right now that Dare is being taken to Milimani, Lokots, where he will be charged. And the pictures that you are seeing currently are the pictures this morning when he arrived at the JKIA. And these pictures exclusively to NTV. We were there at 4 a.m. to catch that moment. There is right now at the Milimani Lokots, where he is facing charges of child trafficking between 1999 and 2004. There, who could not speak to the press at the airport, is accused of stealing children at the Pumwani Hospital between 1999 and 2004. He was accused, and in 2007, Dare lost all appeals to try and block his extradition, but he remained there. And in 2011, Theresa May, who is the current Prime Minister, but then Theresa May was the Interior Minister, ordered that he be extradited to Kenya. But he has been fighting it, and 10 years later, between 2007 and 2017, he has finally been deported. And Leila Mohammed is reporting from the High Court. He will be speaking to us a little bit later on about this case. But what we know right now is that Dare is at the Milimani Lokots. One of the things that he was contesting and he applied in court during his extradition hearing was that it was a breach of his rights, and he alleged that he will be tortured and treated inhumanely and even afforded degrading treatment if he was extradited to Kenya. But he lost the appeals, and in fact he lost back in 2007, but he has been pushing it, and finally he was deported and handed over to the DCI this morning. So he's right now in court. We'll be linking back with Leila Mohammed to speak to us about this case later on. But first, we promise to take you back to Mombasa. Yeah, Peter Mwangangi is standing by. Peter, good morning. And we know that this case, we just saw the press conference that was concluded by the County Commissioner, Evans Choki. And one of the things that he has highlighted, Mwangangi, is the safety of the people of Mombasa and the forthcoming election next Tuesday. But more importantly, how people should behave and even the hotline numbers. What stood out for you in that press conference, Peter?
I liked the point in your police
of Mombasa and other community leaders have been in attendance, as well as key stakeholders such as the Red Cross. They have been briefing the media on their preparedness, especially just a few days to the general election, and they're saying that nobody should panic as they head to this election. Remember, there have been some fears here and there that some people should maybe travel to their rural homes or just to avoid any possible violence, but the police have said that they have secured all places. He said that the ballot, election materials have arrived in Mombasa and they will be secured. They will secure also the polling stations. They will be patrolling all the areas of the Mombasa County, the streets of Mombasa, as well as the ocean. Marine police will be there to ensure that that happens. And most importantly, they give out 3 hotlines. I just want to go through them right now. The first one is 999. That would be the first one. And then there is an SMS line which is called Mulika Uhalifu. That is 22068. Again, 22068. And then the last one is a phone number 0789 999 396. Again, 0789 999 396. 996. Of course, that has been the briefing here, and a warning has been issued to politicians, or rather any person who might be trying to incite people to violence, and they are saying that they will be arrested and an action will be taken against them. Of course, Ken Mijungu, this morning we are also expecting the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga to be here in Mombasa County. He will be hosted by Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho. They will be having a rally later today at the Mamangina grounds. But before that, we understand that they'll be going to the governor's office where they'll be having signing a memorandum of understanding with trade unionists. We do not know yet, but we understand that Wilson Sosion of the Kenya National Union of Teachers might be in attendance. Yesterday he was here, he met teachers and together with Joho, and they rallied the teachers and asked them to vote for the National Super Alliance. For now, back to you, Ken.
All right, Mwangangi, very important. Please explain to us the logic behind banning the trucks from town, the petroleum trucks.
Well, I asked for that clarification, and he said it's because of to avoid any. Remember those. I'm just trying to look for the correct word, but he's saying that they should be parked in their parking yards and designated areas to ensure that there is no disaster. Remember, some of them have very flammable liquids, and they just want to ensure that that does not, if some rowdy people come across them, they do not destroy the fuel tankers, or rather, and even cause any disaster that could have mass casualties.
And they are trying to prevent any mischief in case there is violent breaking out in Mombasa. Thank you very much, Peter Mwangangi, reporting from Mombasa. And later on, we'll also be in Mombasa because the NASA team is campaigning in Mombasa. They are hosted by the Governor Hassan Joho. Let's now take you back to the court right here in Milimani, where Gilbert Dare of the Dare Ministries has been charged, or is being charged currently in court. And the reason why Dare is eliciting a lot of reaction in the country is because this is the first time in 10 years that Dare has been extradited. They have been trying from 2007 when he was first accused of child trafficking together with his wife between 1999 and 2004. Those are live pictures from the Milimani law courts where Dare is supposed to be charged today. Now, in 2007, it was determined that Dare had exhausted all possible appeals to stop him from being extradited, but he still remained in the UK. The reason he remained in the UK is because part of his application in the extradition hearing was that his human rights will be violated, and he alleged torture, inhumane and degrading treatment on the part of Kenyan authorities, if at all the UK, which by the way is one of the countries that uphold dearly human rights, deported him to Kenya. So on this basis, he stayed on in the UK. However, in 2011, Theresa May, who is currently the Prime Minister, ordered that he be extradited to Kenya. But again, Dare managed to stay on for another 6 years after those orders. So finally, he was deported today, and he arrived today in the morning at around 4:30 a.m. NTV was there exclusively, and he was handed over to the DCI. And of course, he has been presented in court. This is the first time in a very long time that Gilbert Dare is coming back to Kenya. Gilbert Dare is the Archbishop of the Dare Ministries. He says he was consecrated back in 1992 in the US. And of course, that is the reason why he holds the title of Archbishop of the Dare Ministries, which, by the way, claims to have a following of around 34,000 members in the UK alone. So it's a huge ministry. Gilbert Dare is said to be a multi-millionaire in the UK, but he has been accused of taking advantage of women, even some women who have reached menopause, to tell them that they will have babies. And indeed, they had babies now. It has since been established by the BBC, by the way, back in 2004 in a documentary, that most of these babies, or some of those babies, were stolen from Kenya. And these are the allegations that Gilbert Deya is currently in court for. So the babies were allegedly stolen between 1999 and 2004 at the Pumwani Hospital. So this, in summary, is the reason why Gilbert Deya has finally been extradited, and he's facing these charges in Kenya. We don't know how long it will take. We don't know if his citizenship, UK citizenship, has been revoked or not, and we don't know what other charges were brought before the court. I remember back when this case, when the wife was prosecuted, there were a lot of women who came out to testify that their children were stolen almost the same time that other women who medically had been proven incapable of giving birth in the UK were receiving the same kind of babies that were lost right here in the country. So these are some of the reasons why Gilbert Deya has been extradited. We'll be going to Leila Mohammed later on to listen in to what's happening in court. And of course, this is a very important case, and we are reporting on it extensively today, and we'll also be reporting in other matters happening elsewhere, including the political rallies. Today is the final day of it's the final day for Jubilee to campaign in Nairobi, but not the official final day of campaigns for all political parties and independent candidates and coalitions in the country, because that lapses in about 48 hours. I think Sunday, 48 hours before the election on Tuesday, which should be about Sunday when the final campaigns will be. But for the Jubilee Party, they are concluding today right here in Nairobi, and in Mombasa. The Jubilee Party is also, in Mombasa, the NASA coalition is also campaigning finally today. And President Uhuru Kenyatta is also expected in Suswa this morning. We'll also try and cross back over to Aden Hudhaifa, who is in Suswa, where the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company is launching their substation today. Well, we will now cross over to Lois Wangoi, who is in Eldoret with a peace campaign that began this morning. And Lois, good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Lois, bring us up to speed. What's happening exactly in Eldoret? What about this peace rally? What is it about?
Good morning, Ken Mijungu, and to you, dear viewer, from here, Eldoret, in the county of Uasin Gishu. The county is also preparing itself towards the coming general election. It is 3 days to go, and even as the country continues to talk about the coming general election, or even to prepare on the same, the conversation about peace continues to build even as the day of August 8th nears. Here in the county of Uasin Gishu, I'm now joined by a group of elders who are drawn from the different communities that live here in Uasin Gishu and who are working very closely with non-governmental organizations to make sure that this particular message of peace is intensified and is actually taken to the residents of Uasin Gishu, the North Rift, and of course to the country at large as we gear towards the general election Tuesday next week. We are now joined by Major Retired Sei, who's one of the elders who is leading this campaign. And asante sana for joining us, Major Sei. Earlier, when you were having a presser, you talked about the importance of ensuring peace and just Kenyans not being very emotional about the political outcome come August the 8th. This particular message of peace is not new to the country. So what is unique about what you're talking about today?
Well, there's nothing unique other than to remind the people what they already know. Election is just one-day event. What we emphasize is to keep peace, keep the peace, because we need Kenya after 8th. And because we have lived peacefully in the intervening period, we are re-emphasizing, we are restating that we need peace And we do not need peace from somewhere. We are saying we are the people to make peace. Na tunasema every mwananchi, the young and the old, and particularly to the young people, that we keep peace during the elections. And that peace comes when people do not incite others with insightful words, with hurtful words, with words that create a kind of a hate in the face of the other communities. Here in Uasin Gishu, we have the entire face of this nation. And this morning, we have that face here before the camera to show that Uasin Gishu is one, and it is no longer a question of hotspot. We are together, and we are saying peace today and peace tomorrow, peace on 8th and peace beyond.
Thank you. Sir, if you could face our cameras, I want you to talk to us about this cosmopolitan face that Uasin Gishu County is. It is a county that has attracted very many communities, and as Major Retired Say has noted, we should not regard this county as a hotspot. Talk to us about the mood here in Uasin Gishu County, even as we gear towards the general election next week.
Thank you, Wangoi. Just as Major says, Uasin Gishu is the face of Kenya. It is the face of Kenya because it is good. That is why every community comes and settles in Uasin Gishu, because it's a good place to be. It's a place where everybody is able to pursue whatever pursuits they are making in peace without animosity. And all through, the way we interact with each other is with respect, mostly, until we come to the election cycles, when for some reason you get bits and pieces of misunderstanding, bits or pieces of incitement. But overall, we are a peaceful place. And it is true, this particular election cycle, there were pockets of uncertainty and pockets of anxiety. But this has been diffused by the continuous consultation of elders from all communities in this county. And at this point, there is no tension anywhere. And we would like to encourage everybody who registered as a voter in Uasin Gishu to be here, wait for the 8th, exercise their constitutional obligation, go home, wait peacefully for the results, and may the best man win. Moving forward, the elders in Uasin Gishu have committed to interact after the 8th to ensure that as we move forward, we will be moving forward with all communities respecting each other, with all communities guarding each other's equity, so that come the next election cycle, we will not be seeing tension, but we'll be moving forward together as one community of Uasin Gishu. Thank you.
Already there are allegations that some members of some communities or sections of some communities are moving out of Uasin Gishu and traveling to other parts of the country. Of course, we understand that some could have registered as voters elsewhere, but are there some who are moving out of fear of a possible of lack of peace come the general election?
They could be, but I have no figures. But I would like to say this very emphatically. There are no tension spots in Uasin Gishu. So everybody who has registered as a voter, may I re-emphasize, should stay put, exercise their constitutional responsibility, and wait for the outcome. I think the Reverend here will do a much better job because he's in contact with more people than I am. Thank you, Wangoi.
Thank you, Reverend. Could you talk to us about the people who are traveling out of Uasin Gishu? What exactly is going on?
Yeah, my name is Reverend Ivan Sakwa Misigo, a resident in Uasin Gishu County. I was born in Uasin Gishu County 50 years ago. I have got properties in Uasin Gishu. I am a pastor in Uasin Gishu. Let me say this. We have talked to our people. The people who are moving out of Uasin Gishu, they have registered their votes in their respective homes where they came from. But the residents of Uasin Gishu are peaceful, and they are going to vote peacefully in Uasin Gishu. Those who are moving, they are our church members. We have to talk to them, and we have seen that they changed their votes to where they migrated when they came to Uasin Gishu. So what we want to say is this. For those people who are saying that Uasin Gishu is a hotspot, Uasin Gishu is not a hotspot. Uasin Gishu is a very peaceful home, a home of champions, home of prosperity. If you want to prosper, just come to Uasin Gishu. You will get prosperity in Uasin Gishu. These people, this community of Uasin Gishu, Major Sei and others, these are a very good community to live with. Those people who are saying that Kalenjins are not good, we are married from them. The deputy president is my best friend. Myself, we were in school with him.
Thank you, Reverend. And even as we wind up, I want to talk about the role of the youth. Sam, we have seen today the elders have come out in the open to continue to build capacity in terms of peace. The role of the youth, Major Say really did mention, especially in the wake of technology, and to be very particular in the wake of social media.
Okay, my name's Pastor Stephen Methu. I'm from this Uasin Gishu County. I have lived here for about more than 20 years. Na ningependa kuambia wale vijana ambao wanatumia hizi vitu za teknolojia, simu na vitu zingine, ninawaomba sana ya kwamba waweke hiyo mambo chini sana, kwa sababu inaweza kuleta mvurugo katika kaunti yetu, na kaunti yetu ni kaunti mzuri sana, tunaishi vizuri, na tungependa pia waige mfano wa hawa wazee ambao wamesimama mahali hapa. Wazee hawa ni kabila zote, lakini ni kabila moja, wanajiita kabila ya wazee. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru na tunawaambia wasitumie hizo vitu kwa njia mbaya. Asante.
Thank you very much. That is the message from elders drawn from the different communities that comprise the county of Uasin Gishu, noting even after this particular presser, theirs will be a task of carrying the message further to their individual communities on door-to-door campaigns to ensure Uasin Gishu is not a hot spot come the general election. Rather, peace will prevail before, during and after August 8th. For now, back to you in Nairobi, Ken.
Right, so Lois Wangoi, and indeed the election is just a one-day event. Peace post the election is most important. Some of the sentiments shared by the leaders right there in Eldoret with Lois Wangoi. We still have a lot coming up in the next hour, including the trial of Gilbert Dare commences right here in Nairobi at the High Court in Milimani. In Suswa, President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to launch a substation belonging to Ketraco, that's the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, and at Uhuru Park, Jubilee rally is expected to kick off anytime. Mombasa, it's NASA. All these stories, we still have them coming up in the next hour or so, including sports and entertainment. So stay with us.
This is NTV.
Jana tupishe, o Simba anakuja, Kenya itetemeshe. Huyu Simba kinguruma, yatima wanacheka. Huyu Simba kinguruma, wajane wanacheka. Huyu Simba kinguruma, dogo bigi sina presha. Huyu Simba kinguruma, Nairobi natetemeka. Simba ni nani? Sonko, Sonko. Oh, Simba ni nani? Sonko, Sonko, Sonko.
Welcome back to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu. To the High Court, where Francis Andai, the Chief Magistrate, is about to begin the case involving Gilbert Dare of Dare Ministries. Those are live pictures from the court. Dare has a battery of lawyers led by criminal lawyer Cliff Ombeta. Dare has been battling the extradition case for over 10 years. Finally, he gets deported, handed over to the CID this morning, and he is in court. He's about to begin the case. Our reporter, Leila Mohammed, is in court. And Leila, good morning. This is one of the cases that perhaps when it began, you had not yet joined the media, but it gets you at a point where it's very advanced. It's 10 years in the making. Finally, Dare has been extradited. What are you hearing from the lawyers?
It's amazing you would say that, Ken, because by the time Kenya was waking up to the issue of miracle babies, I was still in my early 20 years, still studying journalism. And having to see the man in question today in court is very amazing. And he was very calm. His body language was one of a man who did not seem like his face was really exuding any form of how can I say it? If he was fearful or he was happy to be back in the country after so many years. We are aware that he arrived early this morning at around 4 or 5 in the morning. He was here. He was ushered to the DCI headquarters in Kiambu, and just like 10 minutes ago, he has already presented himself in courtroom number 1, Magistrates Court. Francis Andai, the Chief Magistrate, will be the presiding officer today. And some of the charges probably that he will be facing will be those of child trafficking and abduction. Remember, his wife has already served a few years in jail. She was released in 2015 on the same issue of child trafficking and basically information that they would be in a position to have miracle babies. You remember when the case came out in early 2000s, there was the issue of women claiming to have had more than 2 children in less than a year, or even up to 3 kids in 2.5 years, which is physically not possible to happen. So it would be interesting for Kenyans to step aside from all the political rhetoric that is happening in the country for the moment to just witness the miracle babies firsthand. And we hope that we'll get to see more, because we are not sure if the prosecution is ready to go on with the case, or probably they will just be asking for a stay in the country. We are aware that they will be requesting for his passport to be deposited to ensure that he is not a flight risk, even if he gets an opportunity to get bond. They just want to make sure that he will be in the country to face charges once his court case begins officially. Ken.
All right. And Leila, the most important thing about this case is how much time Dare took to fight his extradition case. And I'll take you back and give our viewers some details. This case was highlighted by the BBC back in 2004. And it was alleged that between 1999 and 2004, they stole a number of babies, allegedly, from the Pumwani hospital. And when it was highlighted in 2007, he exhausted all his appeals on the extradition case. And the reason that his extradition case was heard, Leila, was that it will be a breach of his human rights, and he will be tortured and he will face inhumane and degrading treatment in the country. My question is this. Yes. His fears, were they founded or unfounded, Leila?
Well, the government on its part has always maintained that human rights for any Kenyan, whether incarcerated or not, will be highly maintained, and that is one of the many reasons that the Kenyan government was really pushing for this particular individual to be extradited back into Kenya. The British government also agreeing that there was need for him to come back to Kenya to face those very important charges in court. He has been trying for so many years, like you have said, but then now, as late as early this week, the UK legal system finally giving in and saying that he needs to come back to Kenya to face those charges. We are aware that the government is treating this case with the respect that it deserves. It is a high interest case we have been following for the last 10 years, and we just hope that his fears will not be come into reality, but anything is possible. But we do not want to speculate at this particular time. However, as we are aware, the Kenyan government has always insisted that the judicial system has grown in terms of how they execute their mandate, as well as the police service. So we do hope that, like any other offense, he will be in a position to be given bail, and we'll be working with the police officers as soon as possible. Remember, his wife is in the country, so probably he has a home here in Nairobi if he will be given that opportunity to work from outside and not in the cells as he would have, many would have expected it to happen.
Leila, just stay with me, and still some further details on this case is that back in 2011, Theresa May, who's the current Prime Minister, gave orders that indeed he should be extradited. Now, this also fell flat, and for 6 other years, Leila, he managed to stay in the UK. Now, let's forget about Gilbert Dare, the accused person in the dock for a while, Leila, and talk about Gilbert Dare, the televangelist, the archbishop. He says that he was consecrated back in 1992 in the US. Talk to us about the mood in the court. This is a billionaire, in Kenyan standard, or a multimillionaire UK, and he's in court, and we have that battery of lawyers led by Cliff Ombeta. Talk to us about his family, his friends, and the kind of people in court to start listening to this case. Do we have the parents who have alleged their kids disappeared between 1999 and 2004? Just paint the picture for us, Leila.
Well, if you remember, he commands a 34,000 strong community back in the United Kingdom. I have seen 1 or 2 individuals who are Caucasian here this morning, apart from the battery of or the team of lawyers that are representing him. I have not seen his wife, remembering how she looked like. I have not seen a face like that in court. I'm not so sure if any immediate family members are here this morning. However, I have been able to get a sneak peek of a document that one of the lawyers was reading into, and it was really titled "The Miracle Babies Testimonials." Probably those are some of the women who have come forward to just give information about this particular case. Remember, his wife has already served a jail term here in Kenya. She was incarcerated at the Langata Women Prison, and we are aware that now she's a free woman. Probably the family is adopting a wait-and-see attitude so that we are in a position to know whether he will be granted that bond and then go back to sit with his family and his team of lawyers now to forge his way through in terms of how to execute this court case. Like you said before, the United Kingdom has also been trying its best to bring this individual back to Kenya, but we know the amount of wealth and the amount of command that he has been able to have in the United Kingdom. He's a very wealthy individual. We know that in the morning, instead of walking into handcuffs, he was just ushered into a vehicle and taken down to the DCI headquarters. So he was given a little bit of leeway in terms of how he was being dealt with the officials this morning. And like I said before, I looked into his eyes, and this is an individual who I have seen previously in video recordings, a man who really captures the attention of his audiences. And probably, if I might just call it a cult-like situation where when he speaks, everyone is listening very attentively. But this morning, he's very quiet. He's not showing any facial expressions on his face. And we will see whether Cliff Ombeta will be in a position to have him released as soon as possible. But we are aware he has already undergone some form of information, extraction of information from him from the DCI, and this is a case that might not be as easy to complete as many would have expected.
All right, Lele, I'd just like to inform you that the court is about to begin, and I can say Chief Magistrate Francis Andai in court. We know there's a lot of preliminary issues at the beginning of a court session, so we'll try and take them as soon as we can. But before I let you go, this is one of the extradition cases, Leila, that settles one of them. There have been 2, and in the last decade or so, there have been 2 major cases of extradition. The Chris Okemo, Samuel Gishuru, the Jersey case, and the Gilbert. They are very interesting times indeed, but this settles it. So before I let you go, explain to us, Leila, exactly how these miracle babies happened. Just briefly.
Well, this is an individual who has been given the position of bishop, and he would pray for women and they would be pregnant and in less than the original 9 months that a woman would be having a baby. But some of the women claimed that these children were being taken from other places and given to these women because there were testimonies that some of the women who claimed that they were pregnant, they did not show their pregnancies, and how they got a maximum of 2 or 3 children in less than 2 years was something that was questionable. So that is how the case of the charges of child trafficking probably would come in terms of the case where the Pumwani Hospital was claiming that some of their children were being taken away, as those women who claimed that they were having children, women who had issues with their maternal systems, they would claim that they had children, and yet some of them were not in a position to have children in less than 9 months, which is the God-given, and physically a woman cannot have a children in less than 9 months, as purported by his church. And his wife also was in jail because she claimed that he had so many kids in less than a short time, and she was not in a position to explain physically through a medical doctor how this was happening.
Right, Leila, thank you very much. We'll be getting back to you. Need to run back inside court because the session is about to begin. Leila Mohammed reporting from the High Court at Milimani. Francis Andai is the magistrate in charge. He is presiding over this case. Gilbert Dare of Dare Ministries has been extradited. He begins trial today on accusations of child trafficking. 1999 to 2004 is the period in focus. We'll try and get as much details about this case as much as we can. And later on, we'll be speaking to Seku Owino, who will be joining us. He's an advocate of the High Court. He'll be speaking to us about the extradition case and what is likely to happen. But today, we're also following a number of very important stories. It's the home stretch. We have 3 days left before we go to poll and vote for the next leaders of this country. Let's now take you live to Suswa, and we're not speaking to Hudhaifa Eden, who is doing the business angle, but we have Bridget Singana. Bridget, good morning, good to see you. Tell us what's happening and who has come and who do we expect in Suswa?
Good morning to you, Ken Mijungu. Rightly, as you have said, we are in Suswa, where the political temperatures, especially for the Ma community, are usually decided and determined. A little bit of history regarding Suswa. Suswa was formerly the convergence of Kajiado, Narok, and Nakuru counties with the extension of Naivasha. By then, they were districts, and this is where the Maasai community would meet and converge over cultural matters that would dictate the nation of the Ma community. Now, these grounds in Suswa have taken a political dimension in terms of being the deciding factor or the place where leaders, especially national leaders, come to meet the Ma community and, in a sense, bring them on board towards their agenda in terms of the politics of this country. On Tuesday, NASA was here, and the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga was categorical. He said it is high time the Ma community had their voices heard in terms of the historical injustices that have been subjected to this community. It is a community that has been laden with a series of issues when they say they have been subjected to mistreatment when it comes to the ownership of communal land. And, you know, land is a contentious issue in this country. And so when Raila was here on Tuesday, he mentioned that the Ma community, when it comes to the recommendations of the TJRC report about their communal land and their welfare as a pastoralist and as a community that is dependent on land, that they will address the recommendations of the TJRC report that he allegedly claimed that the Uhuru government has consistently ignored in his term of leadership. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to be here today in Suswa at the main center. The preparations are ongoing. People have started streaming in at the grounds. We shall be going there in a few, but as of our arrival, the people were coming in. There is a sense of a political excitement. People are waiting for the president to come in and also dictate or tell them his side of the story, because the Ma community predominantly in 2007 was very strongly rallying behind Raila Odinga. So Raila Odinga was expecting that he would get that support when he's seeking re-election on the 8th of August. No, rather, I'm saying seeking to be elected as the president maybe at the polls. And Uhuru Kenyatta is also coming here. He's also meeting the Maa community. He has promised that he's going to listen to them. Previously, when we have covered the president, he has said that he has given the Maa community inclusion by mentioning names like the late Gaiseri, the late Major General Gaiseri. In his previous rally here in Narok, he also mentioned that even the GDC has given the Maa community representation because the CEO of the Geothermal Development Corporation is from the Maa community. So issues of inclusion, Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to speak about that mostly for the Maa community. They want a stake in this government. They want their voices to be heard. And they really, really, really are an important and a determining factor in terms of these elections in August. Ken.
Very interesting. This is an area that we expect quite some battle, Bridget. And the reason why is because Suswa is sort of a border, and we have seen the kind of activity that has been on the ground. It's also associated to the Bomet governor, Isaac Ruto, who is on this other side. But now talk to us about the expectations. Who else is supposed to come for this rally? We know this will be about the 5th time Jubilee is in that region in the last 2 months alone, Bridget.
I think there is a communication breakdown right there, but if I might have gotten snippets of what you are asking, who else is expected to be in the company of President Uhuru Kenyatta? If I might have heard you well, maybe the leaders from the Maa community, especially the governor from Narok County, he has been very vocal as being the only Jubilee candidate who's going to be vying among other CCM and NASA candidates, because NASA is fielding 2 candidates for the gubernatorial seat here in Narok County. We have Ole Ntutu from CCM, and we also have Ole Misoni or Tiampati from the Orange Democratic Movement. And all of them have a lot of political support and political clout from here. But in a sense, because this is a Jubilee rally, we expect the governor of Narok County to be here, because he had also been previously quoted that this is a Jubilee zone in a sense. So we are going to be expecting the governor of Narok County to be among the leaders from the Maa community who are going to be here. If a brief history rather is that, you know, the clanism or the clan issue also comes in when it comes to the Maasai vote. And so the governor of Narok County has never been seen as a key clan figure because he comes from the minority clans in the Maa community. But he has over time said he is the uniting factor, because he says because he comes from a very minority clan, he has been able to bring together all the other majority clans in the Maa community together. And so he's going to be in the company of the president. We also expect the deputy president to also be here as they continue with their series of campaigns, as we head on to the last stretch of the political campaigns ahead of the elections on Tuesday next week. Ken.
All right, Bridget, and we also know that one of the major activities, the most important right now for President Uhuru Kenyatta, is capitalizing on his development record. So just speak to us briefly about what is supposed to happen, apart from just the political rally. What else do you expect the president to be doing in Susa this morning?
Yes.
All right, Bridget, if you can hear me, we know about the political rally.
Yes, Ken, there seems to be
All right, we have a small challenge with Bridget, but Bridget Ngana is in Suswa, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected this morning. First, he is expected to launch the Ketraco substation, that is the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company substation in Suswa. Later on, he's expected to host a number of leaders there for a political rally. This is the last time he's campaigning in that region, just before the election on Tuesday. Later on, President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected right here in Nairobi at Uhuru Park. We now take you live to Uhuru Park, and we'll shortly have the live pictures from Uhuru Park. Now, those pictures on your screen, President Uhuru Kenyatta will lead a team of other Jubilee leaders right here in Nairobi for their final campaign in the capital before the election next week on Tuesday. Now, we expect a lot of leaders, including the leaders who are seeking for different positions right here in Nairobi, to be endorsed, to be campaigned for in that rally, including the women representative Rachel Shebesh. We expect the governor candidate Mike Mbuvi Sonko also at Uhuru Uhuru Park. We expect other leaders, including from constituency levels, at Uhuru Park. So they will be there in the afternoon. Those are live pictures. As soon as there's much more activity from the Uhuru Park, we will get back there. But remember, first of all, they are in Suswa and in Mombasa. Peter Mwangangi was reporting earlier that the NASA team is also in Mombasa for their final rally in Mombasa, their stronghold. Remember, both Ipsos and Infotrack are giving Nairobi County to NASA at 56%. Those details we'll discuss much later. But first, let's talk about a case that is very important. This is because it's been 10 years in the making at the High Court, presided over by Chief Magistrate Francis Andai. This is Gilbert Dare standing trial for allegations of child trafficking. And I'm now joined by Seku Owino. Seku Owino is an advocate of the High Court, and also he's the head of legal and training right here at Nation. Thank you very much, Seku, for joining us. Very interesting case indeed. This has been 10 years in the making. When it began, Seku, I was in campus, 2004, after the BBC exposure. But we know that the allegation is that these babies were allegedly stolen from Pumwani between 1999 and 2004. First of all, Seku, how long can an extradition case last?
They can take quite a while. Let me just start by explaining what extradition is, and then because that will lead to explaining why they can take long. Extradition is the procedure by which a person who's committed an offense in one country and has sought refuge in another, or lives in another country, is brought back to the country where he or she committed the offenses for purposes of trial. It is the basis of an understanding of international comity between countries that we do not provide refuge to people who are committing offenses against each other, against the laws of these countries. So like in this case of Gilbert Dare, what happened is that he is a Kenyan. He's alleged to have committed certain offenses in Kenya, and then when these offenses were investigated and charges were brought or about to be brought, he moved from Kenya and went to live in the United Kingdom. So Kenya and Britain have an extradition treaty, basically an agreement between the two nations by which they say, if we need to get somebody who's committed an offense from our side, you will bring him back here. Okay. So that offense, that is initiated. It is initiated by some requests made from Kenya, and you send a request to that other country through the ministries, the Attorney General's office. There it then goes. The decision is made by the Home Secretary in England. He then starts an extradition process in his own country, like in this case in the UK. Before that, they honor the request. Okay. So basically, it is taken to court. If the person resists, you're told, Kenya has made a request that we extradite you for 1, 2, 3, and 4 offenses. They have to give the offenses. And these offenses must be offenses which are recognized by both countries. So they must be offenses which are an offense in both countries. So like in this case of abduction of children and whatever, it is also an offense in Britain. So they say this is an offense in our country. We consider it serious. If you've committed them, we would want to extradite you. So the person, an order is made, a request is made to the court.
Okay, and we will watch briefly. The court. The proceeding is live in court right now, and those are pictures from the court where Gilbert Dare is supposed to begin his trial. Actually, the trial has begun. Basically, he is being accused of stealing babies to break it down, but it's about kidnappings, and generally, this is something that is said to have happened between 1999 and 2004. Let's take you live to court to listen a bit, then we'll be back with our discussion.
So we can give you until 2:30. Right. You try, if you settle, then we'll see if the prosecution can allow you to do the child. Okay.
Criminal case number 1382 of 2017, Peter Mboro Waidaka. Peter Mboro Waidaka. Tafadhali itika kwa jina lako. Peter Mboro Waidaka, please. Bwana Waidaka, Kiswahili au Kiingereza?
Sema, unataka kulipa pesa? Ya cash bail. Give him his cash bail, Bwana Solomon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, unfortunately, I do not have any money that is on transit for the subject before you.
He must have known that.
I undertake to liaise with the investigating officer.
It's very rare that you will get a person saying, give me my money before I pay.
Your Honor, all
Yes.
I can say is that I undertake to liaise with the investigating officer for purposes of getting it.
All right, it seems as though the advocates, the lawyers in court are asking for more time. We'll try and understand what's happening, but the preliminary issues that have to be dealt with before a case begins, probably their objection or there are some things that they're asking for. Remember, they just arrived in the country this morning at around 4:30, and not much is expected from the court. It's the first hearing, probably. There will be a bail application. I'll try and understand that from Seko Owino. Probably there are issues that have not been brought to the attention of both the prosecution and the defense side. We'll try and make sense from Leila, who is in court. But let me bring this discussion back here, and we'll also be playing the earlier pictures when he came into the country. Right on your screen, he arrived in the country at 4:30 a.m. This was after he was deported. This week there was a final decision to deport Dare, who has been fighting the extradition case from 2007, and the first time they attempted to deport him was 2004. In 2007, it was determined that he'd exhausted all avenues for blocking his extradition. And in 2011, Theresa May, who was then the Interior Minister in the UK, decided that finally they will deport him. But he managed to stay on in the UK for additional 6 years, and finally they deported. And Seko Owino, who's here, was just explaining to us how that has to happen. So there must be an agreement between countries, and the crimes must be seen as both by the laws of those countries. Both the countries. Yes. So if that was not the case, he would have not been extradited on this case of kidnapping and child trafficking.
Yes.
All right.
Which means if the UK did not recognize the offense of kidnapping and child trafficking, then they would have no basis to extradite him.
Okay.
So this has happened before in cases where somebody makes, one country makes a request for extradition, and the other country looks at it and says, this is not an offense in under our law. It often tends to happen in political cases, particularly people who are considered to be freedom fighters. So one country wants to charge you with, say, treason, but the other country looks at it and says, no, this is a person fighting for independence. We do not think this is a fair charge. We do not recognize it under our law. And therefore, they're unable
so they'll actually protect you.
Yes.
The reasons that Dare has been giving all these years, Sekou,
Yes.
is a breach of his human rights.
Yes.
And he says he will be tortured and subjected to inhumane and degrading treatment.
Yes.
Well, this valid concern, looking at the jurisdiction, Kenya, do you think this was a valid concern or just points that they were putting there just to beef up their case against extradition?
The court eventually overruled him on those and said that, look, we do not see that what you are alleging would necessarily occur, because he was alleging that these charges were being brought against him on account of political persecution. And the courts held that having investigated them, they did not see substance in it. They also held in the final decision before the order was made is that, look, Kenya has given us the guarantee that you will be accorded your constitutional rights. The Constitution of Kenya has an elaborate Bill of Rights, which also has very, very protective right to fair trial for a person, and therefore they held that his complaints were unwarranted in law.
But how did he manage for 10 years to evade?
It's because that's the reason I'm explaining that is because countries have to be careful for that purpose, especially if somebody is saying that the reason these charges are being brought is so that I'm persecuted. They themselves have to conduct some investigation. So in the process, it gets delayed, and you're given the opportunity to challenge every decision made and to raise all factors so that a person is extradited if the court, the country that is conducting the extradition, the responding country, Kenya in this case was the requesting country, the UK was the responding country that is extraditing, they have to be sure that there really is nothing other than a fair request for true prosecution, other than for any other purpose. Basically a rule of law question. They have to satisfy themselves. Is this really, really pursuant to a pure rule of law question rather than persecution or any other motive behind it?
And I guess a lot of people are asking this morning, Sekou, for 10 years, why didn't the UK try this man? Why didn't they try him? Because they're looking at it like If at all you stole the babies, you brought them to the UK and passed them on as miracle babies, why couldn't you then try him?
Yeah, because those
UK?
offences were not committed in Kenya.
In the
UK.
Yes.
You know, you can only try. Very few offences can be tried by a country if those offences have not been committed against them and if they are not committed by a citizen.
Regardless if the people, the residents of the United Kingdom received the babies, because you remember during the trial there was DNA testing and everything, and they said that the reason why the DNA is not matching is because they're miracle babies, you know?
Yes. So, what the court has to say is that where is the best possible place for this thing to be tried?
Okay.
It is in Kenya, because that is where the offences actually were committed. The theft occurred in Kenya, if those were Kenyan children, as Kenya was alleging. So then they were told, okay, this is the reason why it's best conducted. A case is tried where, at the locus where it is best able to, the group of contacts, as they call it in international law, where is the greatest of the factors that would influence the decision in that case occur. In this case is Kenya.
Okay.
Because the complainants, for somebody to say children were stolen, the complainants would have to be people in Kenya and that kind of thing. So they said, okay, just guaranteeing him is fair rights to be tried fairly, then go and try the case in Kenya.
99, 2017, almost 20 years.
Yes.
Why are we still trying cases that happened almost 20 years ago?
Because, you know, Ken, as you know, people need to understand that in criminal law, there's no limitation to crime. Okay, if as opposed to ordinary civil cases, which have a limitation, crime has no limitation. So a person can actually be tried for an offense that he committed. As you probably see, last year there was somebody tried in Germany for an offense he committed during the Second World War, essentially for a war crime. He was now almost 90 years old. These are offenses he committed 70 years ago. Whoa. And they are told there is no limitation. So if you ever commit an offense, as and when the evidence becomes available, you can be committed, you can be tried.
Okay.
So even within Kenya, just to give an example, the only crime that, there are only two crimes that would have limitation. There's a crime of treason, where there's a limitation of 2 years. If you're to charge somebody with a treasonable act, it must
happen within 2 years.
Yes, because that too is because it's a political crime. They're trying to close the window for it for purposes of evidence. But any other crime, that's why. So I think as soon as the evidence becomes available, you can be tried.
And as we move away from the explanation behind extradition, I just want to bring a new element to it. Yes. There is an extradition case that has also been fought for close to 7 years, Christo Kemo Samuel Gishuru case.
Yes.
And judges have an agreement with Kenya.
Yes.
It's also taking too long. Perhaps we've settled one, but there's one that is still ticking, especially for Kenyans. It's an economic crime. Talk to us about that, then we can move on and discuss another element of this case.
Same thing, yes, because of the same thing again. Again, before Kenya extradites, you have to be sure that all those protections that are meant, but then there's an international convention on extradition.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that this person is granted the fullest protection and that before he's sent to another country for prosecution, you have exhausted all the rights that he could have been entitled to.
Okay.
And that there is no reason for that other than the simple rule of law question of going to be...
Exhausting all the rights. In 2011, Theresa May, then Interior Minister, said that he has exhausted and there is no further reason to have him in the UK, but he still remained there for 6 more years.
Yes,
yeah.
Because after that, he now raised, you know, originally there are 2 steps. There are the administrative questions, and then the legal questions. And at that time, when she made the decision that there are no other basis, she said all the excuses he had given were not justifiable. Then she ordered that he be extradited. Then he now challenged this on account of human rights questions. That's when he now started saying... So that's when
the trial on human rights began.
So the human rights questions came back again. And the judges eventually looked at it and said, these issues have been raised before. You're just giving them the guise of European Convention on Human Rights guise. So they again overruled him.
I don't know how this case is going to pan out or turn out to be at the High Court right here in Nairobi. We have seen Cliff Ombeta, a reputable lawyer, criminal lawyer, and other lawyers. In fact, it's a battery of lawyers dealing with the Dare case. But I want to take you back to Dare's wife and how fast her case was concluded. She served some years right now at, I think it's at the Langata Women's. The fact that they were jointly to be tried in this case.
Yes.
What if new elements are introduced that were not considered at that time when they were trying the wife?
Yeah, these now will be
Totally
two different cases.
Totally
the evidence
different.
has to be provided afresh. The trial has to be...
But can they use the fact that they found the wife guilty?
No.
They cannot bring it.
Guilt is individual. Guilt is individual.
But it was jointly committed with...
No, that's an allegation. You see, even if you charge two people with committing an offense, for purposes of conviction, you have to prove the guilt of each and every one of them.
Individual,
which is why sometimes several people can be charged, some will be convicted, and others will be acquitted.
Others will be given lighter sentences, others will be given very heavy sentences. So we have to divorce these two cases entirely.
Yes.
All right, let's come back to the case. It's begun at the High Court. Yes. And what do we expect going forward? What do we expect today? He's just come back in the country. Yes. I think this has been going on for a long time. There are quite sufficient investigations. And remember, there are complainants in this case. Yes. If these women don't turn up in court to complain, in this case, what happens? Is it still state versus?
Yes, it's state versus him. The state prosecutes it, but the complainants provide the evidence.
If they don't?
It's been a while. If they don't, it would be unfortunate, because then you would have to be, not unfortunate, his constitutional rights would have to be upheld. He would have to be acquitted. So you hope that he will be tried, granted a fair trial. All the evidence that the prosecution has marshaled will be brought in to bear into the case. The judicial officer will consider it. He will be given the opportunity to cross-examine them, to clarify and to challenge the evidence. And then he himself, if he's put on his defense, will give his side of the story and his evidence, and then a decision is made as to his guilt or otherwise.
This is a case that is very difficult to talk about, because then we border being prejudicial. But I'm just wondering, a lot of people right now looking at this trial and looking at 17 years that have lapsed. For other children, probably it's about 13 years. The other ones are about 17, 18 years. Looking at that period, the end game is what happens to these children, and I'm treading carefully because of being prejudicial on this. What is the end game for this case? Looking at these children stolen as babies, they're already grown-ups, they're teenagers right now.
Yeah, that would be difficult. It will depend also on how the conviction goes. I mean, how the trial itself goes. Because if it is not proven, for instance, and he's acquitted, then the situation will be, he didn't commit the offenses, let the children be wherever they are. Now, if he is convicted, then there might be now the subsequent question as to the custody of these children. Where are they, and can they be brought back to their families? So this, that's something that has to be navigated here. It is a serious concern, because it will have a lot of repercussions after this trial ends.
And then that will open a Pandora's box, because then we'll be looking at the rights of those children. You know, what is in their best interest and that. It's a very interesting case. So going forward, the case has begun. We can see it on split screen. It's going on. We have the lawyers. We have just seen them come to court today. Do we expect a lot from court today?
No, I don't think we expect a lot from court today. Having been just extradited and come into the country, the first thing that the court will want to do is to ascertain his identity, that is this the right person who has been extradited, confirm that, then we'll be asked to take plea. The formal charges, the plea is the formal response to the charges, whether he admits them, in which case he pleads guilty, or he doesn't admit them, he pleads not guilty. After that, then the court records whatever it is, and the next decision will probably be decision to consider bail. His lawyers may apply for bail. And
could all that happen today?
Yes,
okay.
It could happen today. Yes.
So apply for bail?
They may make an application for bail, which the judicial officer could consider and rule on immediately, or perhaps say, let me take some time to think through it and then deliver a decision probably sometime next week.
In which case, he remains in custody.
Yes.
He remains in custody
until he's under custody.
Until next week.
Yes.
But looking at all those possibilities and looking at Dare the Man, you know, one of the things that the court is considering that he deposits his travel documents, because he might be flight risk.
Yes.
He's both Kenya and UK citizen.
Yes.
So which documents do you deposit?
You deposit
on account of this crime, right?
On account of this crime,
yes,
he will be treated as Kenyan.
Yes, Kenyan. Okay.
And therefore, the documents he will be required to deposit will most likely be the Kenyan one. You know, a passport given by another country cannot be confiscated by another country. So that Kenya, for instance, cannot confiscate the UK passport. Yes,
but would they have considered to revoke it before he left, or that's against also his rights?
Yeah, that's still his right. And until he's convicted of a crime in this country, in Kenya, they still have to give him all his rights and presumption of innocence.
Okay.
So that will remain there. And it's one of the things, I think that's one of the larger issues that will arise and which the court will have to think about in considering the bail application.
Okay.
If he is to be granted bail, under what conditions? Bearing in mind that he probably bears and holds a passport of a different country.
Okay. Talk to us about the bail application, the laws governing bail application. This is a case that denial of bail is highly unlikely, right?
Denial of bail, okay, first of all, let's start. Bail is a constitutional right for anybody. In fact, the Constitution says that every person who's been charged with an offense, irrespective of the nature of the offense, is entitled to bail as a matter of right and upon reasonable conditions.
Okay.
So the question here will be the reasonable conditions, and unless there's a compelling reason to deny bail. So the question here will be, what is the compelling reason to deny him bail if his bail application is opposed? And so those issues will have to be considered. Somebody may have to say, look, he's been in this country, we've had to bring him, he didn't present himself here voluntarily, he's had to be brought by extradition.
For 10 years.
He's been 7 years or 10 years, whatever the time frame is. Those are the kind of things whoever will be opposing his bail in the event that they choose to oppose it will likely raise. His lawyers, on the other hand, will be arguing, and justifiably so, that the Constitution grants bail. As he stands now, he's still innocent until proven guilty, so that presumption of innocence must come to bear on his behalf and in his favor, and therefore decide whether, leave it to the judicial officer to decide whether to grant bail, and if it is to be granted, upon what conditions.
Okay. And before we take a break, let's talk about where this case begins. Yes. Where will it likely begin? In terms of facts of this case, where is it likely to begin? Back in 1999 or 2004 when he began to fight his extradition?
No, for purposes of proving the offenses, they will have to begin with the 1999 when the issues first arose, when the babies were allegedly stolen. So that's probably where it is. But of course, there's no obligation or compulsion on the prosecutor to choose which witness to bring first.
Okay.
He can decide whichever order he wishes to arrange his case.
All right.
Yes.
Stay with me, Seko, because we are going to take a short break. But when we come back, we still want to speak about this case currently in court. On split screen, you could see the pictures from the High Court, presided over by Chief Magistrate Francis Andai. This is one of the stories we are following up for you. Leila Mohammed is in court. We'll try and conclude this discussion in the next hour. Also in the next hour, we expect all the sports, entertainment and business. Remember, we'll still try and take you back to Susua, where we have a team of Bridget Ngana and Hudhaifa Eden, and they're reporting that President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected in Susua, first to launch the Ketraco substation, and secondly for a political rally. Later on, we'll try and talk to you about what's happening right here at Uhuru Park, and also in Mombasa, we'll try and get Peter Mwangangi to brief us on what's happening. NASA is expected to hold a political rally. Some of the stories we're following up for you this morning. First, we take a short break. When we come back, we are back to the High Court for the case involving televangelist Gilbert Dare. Stay with us.
This is NTV.
Hapa unaona mafuta ya kupika, Bogwa fry, Karaja washing powder, shipping to Addis Ababa tonight. Unaona Karaja margarine, unapaka kwa mkate asubuhi. Karambu power detergent, named after Karaja and Bogwa. I have branches in Mombasa and Kisumu connected to my headquarters here with Viber Connect 1 at only 9,000 Kenya shillings per month. I am able to keep track of inventory, all the sales, and even who is not performing and always coming late to work. To play solitaire and Facebook all day. Ni mimi Bogwa ninawalipa, sio Zuka Baga. Munajijua nitawapata.
Fiber Connect gives you a direct P2P connection from point A to point B. Call Njambi Telecommunications to get connected. This is Fiber.
Let one and all arise, great and small, young and old, rich and poor, and rebuild this nation together. Kenya needs you and me. Kenya needs you and I. Through commitment, participation, and passion, we can and we will protect our heritage and splendor.
I am probably one of the most misunderstood Kenyans. I think I'm only paying a small price of seeking to lead.
People vote individuals, not parties.
None of us has those votes in our pockets. The votes are in the people's pocket.
Anyone who can get votes out there gets in, not necessarily for the national good, but for their personal gratification. Hey, Nick, what is this? What do you mean, ndani ndani?
Tuko ndani kabisa.
I told him, Bishop, ndani 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 ya Yesu.
Vijana tupishe, o Simba anakuja, Kenya itetemeshe, huyu Simba.
All right, welcome back to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu in studio with Sekou Owino, the head of legal and training right here at the Nation Media Group. We'll be talking to him in a short while. But first, let's take you live to Uhuru Park, the venue of the Jubilee rally this afternoon. We understand that President Uhuru Kenyatta, straight from Suswa, where we are also reporting from this morning, will be headed to Uhuru Park for a rally, a joint rally with all the leaders from Nairobi County. This is the final push to get at least part of the 56% that both Ipsos and Infotrack are giving the NASA coalition. President Uhuru Kenyatta will be joined by a host of other leaders, including the Deputy President. In Mombasa, we are reporting this afternoon that the NASA campaign is headed there for also their final rally. Remember, we have just over 48 hours before the end of the official campaign period. That ends on Sunday, just 2 days to the election, which is happening on Tuesday from 6 a.m. We'll be talking about all that a little bit later on. But let's come back to the studio where Sekou Owino is still right here with me. Sekou, let's conclude this discussion on Gilbert Dare and the extradition case. And why would Gilbert Dare, for example, hold a battery of lawyers in this case? What is the fear? Or is just to afford him, what do we call it? He just, let me say, he just wants to get off the hook.
Yes, it's a constitutional right.
He can have
a constitutional right
if he wishes
to legal representation. It doesn't have to be one lawyer. That's one. Two, probably as a matter of strategy, depending on the nature of charges, you want to bring in every single legal perspective you can. You know, I think we need to understand, not so much in this country, but in much of the West, there is specialization to the extent where you have, like, if you remember the O.J. Simpson trial, you remember he had a lawyer for everything. There's a lawyer to interview experts, whose job is to cross-examine experts. There's a lawyer whose job is to lead evidence. There's a lawyer whose job is to deal with scientific forensics. There's going to be so each of them has their own, and then there's one whose job is just to record evidence in the hope, in the event of conviction. The lawyer in the US, they call him the God forbid lawyer. He comes in and he sits, he does not do anything. He begins to prepare himself for an appeal in the event of conviction. And then there's one whose job is going to be to present the submissions. So it could be that that's the strategy here. But it's a constitutional right. He's entitled to it if he can afford it.
Okay. I mentioned earlier about the wife, and I just saw some people were asking, how did the court rule in that case? Because the wife was convicted. What is the value of the evidence for the court at that time?
Yeah, for her to be convicted, and I remember she appealed, and actually the appeal didn't succeed, if I recall correctly. For her to be convicted, it means the court was convinced to the standard required in a criminal case that is beyond reasonable doubt that she committed the offenses. So
I think the reason why they're raising this, Seku, is they're looking at the kind of presentation these lawyers will be bringing in court to ensure, because they already have sort of the kind of trial in mind that is going to happen in this case, because they were supposed to be jointly tried, but Gilbert Dare, because he was not in the country, he managed to evade trial all this while until now. So they're just trying to look for someone to ask that. They're trying to look at what do we expect in this case, as opposed to what we expected or we saw in the other one.
Okay, the thing about it is that they always say in law that no two cases are alike completely. You judge cases more on principle rather than on the facts. But I would suspect that there's going to be something in law we call similar fact evidence. They may likely use the very evidence that they used for conviction in the other one to try and bear on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you have a witness which a previous court considered for the same case or similar case to be credible and on which a conviction ensued, then it will be. But the game might then change, because bearing that in mind, the defense this time might be better prepared and will be better placed to anticipate what to expect, and therefore in cross-examination and in the handling of the case and managing the defense, they may be able to bring a little bit more than this. So it's no guarantee that necessarily because there was a conviction on the other one, this will be. And neither is it a guarantee that the evidence that was presented in the other one will necessarily be the same one that will be presented here.
All right. I'd like to talk about next the fact that the court yesterday, Judge Odunga ordered yesterday that the IBC should publish the registers in 48 hours. I'd like to talk about that next. But before then, talk to me about the kind of punishment we expect, the outcome of this case in case he's convicted.
If he is convicted, then there likely will be imprisonment.
Imprisonment.
Yeah, because these are felonies.
What
felonies? I am presently unsure of what it is. The term will depend, one, on whether there were aggravating circumstances. Two, it will be whether there is anything mitigatory, and the number of charges, depending on the number of charges. Because from what I get here, the charges are quite a number. There are many children who were, it is alleged, he was involved in theft and trafficking and all those offences. Okay. So depending on the number of counts on which he is convicted, the punishment could be, the imprisonment could be fairly long.
All right, we understand. I'm just being told by Leila that the trial begins in a short while, so we'll try and go to court and get it. And finally, tell me, could he choose where to be jailed, or Kenya will just automatically jail him? Could he say, I have been convicted, but you can jail me in the UK? Because
no,
he's a citizen of the UK.
That too, but he's also a citizen of Kenya, unless he's denounced his citizenship, which I'm not sure about. But you see, the offences were committed in Kenya. Okay. So unless there's an agreement of that kind between Kenya and the UK, yes, they could then decide that, okay, you've convicted him, but for purposes of imprisonment, we take him there. If Kenya has that, I'm not sure Kenya and Britain have it. Okay. It's possible, but I'm not sure.
All right. Seku will be coming back to you, but let's take you to the High Court where the case involving Gilbert Dare is about to begin. Let's listen.
I appear in this matter with Mrs. Tabitha Huya,
I didn't get that name clearly on the title. Tabitha? Yes. Title? Yes.
Victor Muller. Mr. Angelo Kellogg. And lastly, Ms. Helen Motela, SPC.
What is SPC?
SPC.
Yes.
Helen Motela, Ms. Helen Motela.
SPC stands for?
Senior Prosecution Counsel.
Right.
Your Honor, before the charges are read to the accused, allow me to mention one thing on record. that there was a previous file a criminal case number 2008 of 1045.
Number?
2008 2008 or 2005, where same charges have been filed. Your Honor, this file was sought from the registry and brought to court. Because
Yes.
I expected a plea to be taken on that file. Only to find that on the 3rd of July 2006, the charge has been withdrawn under Section 87A of the CBC. Yeah, that was the reason why we filed the charge, the same charge, under the cover of file number 1388 of 2017. Yeah, it's important this is on record because international warrants had been issued under the criminal case number 2008 of 2017, and despite the withdrawal of that charge, those warrants remained in force. That is what I wanted to mention, Your Honor, so as to bring to speed to where we are having 1388 of 2017 and not 2008 of 205, and the two files are before court. The plea can be taken.
I don't have another file before me.
Yes, we had.
It's okay, really. Does it really matter now? If you decided to bring this one,
yes.
I don't see any match that we need to belabor on that matter. Gilbert there, how are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome to the Magistrates Court, Milimani.
Thank you very much.
Right. You will take plea. Yes, madam. Mr. Sakwa, you don't have anything about that?
No, we have no objection.
Okay.
Mr. Dare, you are facing a total of 5 counts. In count number 1, the offense is child stealing. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the 20th of May 2002 and 19th of August 2004 at Mountain View Estate, house number 226 in Nairobi, within Nairobi area, jointly with others not before court, with intent to deprive an unknown parent or guardian the lawful charge of an unnamed child, alias Elijah Opiodea, a child aged under the age of 14 years, of the possession of the said child. You harbored the said unnamed child, alias Elijah Opiodea, knowingly to have been so taken, detained, or enticed away. Is it true? Yes. Count 2, child stealing. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the 20th of May 2002 and 19th day of August 2004 at Mountain View Estate, house number 226 in Nairobi, within Nairobi area, jointly with others not before court, with intent to deprive an unknown parent or guardian the lawful charge of an unnamed child, alias Miriam Adongo Dea, a child under the age of 14 years, of the possession of the said child. You harbored the said unnamed child, alias Miriam Adongo Dea, knowing her to have been so taken, detained, or enticed away. Is it true? Yes. Count 3, child stealing. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the 14th day of March 2003 and 19th day of August 2004 at Mountain View Estate, house number 226 in Nairobi, within Nairobi area, jointly with others not before court, with intent to deprive of an unknown parent or guardian the lawful charge of an unnamed child, alias Ruth Akelo Dea, a child under the age of 14 years, of the possession of the said child. You harbored the said unnamed child, alias Ruth Akelo Dea, knowing her to have been so taken, detained, or enticed away. Is it true? Yes. Count 4, child stealing. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the 20th of January 2004 and 19th day of August 2004 at Mountain View Estate, house number 226 in Nairobi, within Nairobi area, jointly with others not before court, with intent to deprive an unknown parent or guardian the lawful charge of an unnamed child, alias Naomi Gilbert Dea, a child under the age of 14 years, of the possession of the said child. You harbored the said unnamed child, alias Naomi Gilbert Dea, knowing her to have been so taken, detained, or enticed away. Is it true?
Not true.
Count 5, child stealing. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the 12th day of May 1999 and 19th day of August 2004 at Mountain View Estate, house number 226 in Nairobi, within Nairobi area, jointly with others not before court, with intent to deprive an unknown parent or guardian the lawful charge of an unnamed child, alias Joshua Gilbert Dea, a child under the age of 14 years, of the possession of the said child. You harbored the said unnamed child, alias Joshua Gilbert Dea, knowing him to have been so taken, detained, or enticed away. Is it not true?
Plea of not guilty entered on counts.
Your Honor, I have instructions to apply for witness statements and every documentary exhibit in the hands of the prosecution, which the prosecution intends to use, Your Honor, in prosecuting this matter. Also, Your Honor, I have instructions to apply for a cash bail, and in the alternative, a surety bond to ensure that my client is set at liberty pending the hearing and determination of this particular matter before you. When I deal with an affidavit, the position to my application that I'm making today, I wouldn't know whether we would prefer DPP to proceed with it or not. But, Your Honor, I wish to bring to the attention of the Honorable Court that the accused person is a Kenyan national who has been domiciled, or rather, has been making a living in the UK, United Kingdom, up to and until this morning when I picked him up from the airport together with the police. And he entered the jurisdiction of this court in his favor. Your Honor, nothing should stand in the way of this application for bail, reasons being that the accused has a fixed abode here in this country, the resident of Bondo. She has a family in this jurisdiction of Kenya. And Your Honor, the court will take judicial notice of the fact that he is an archbishop. Who has a membership of about 36,000 people in London alone, without touching other areas where his ministry has prayed. Your Honor, the accused is not a flight risk. It may be argued that it's taken a while for him to come and answer these charges. Again, I pray that the court will take judicial notice of the fact that he challenged his extradition in a competent court, competent jurisdiction, the United Kingdom. My Lord, which was a constitutional right of his, and also a legal right. The proceedings have been ongoing since the year 2004. Or rather 2007, Your Honor. During this period, in the United Kingdom, when my client had been directed to be reporting to Deptford Police Station every day between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock to take his signatures and to note his presence.
You said that police station is called?
Deptford Police Station.
Give me the spelling.
D-E-F-F-O-R-D.
Yes.
Which he dutifully, religiously, and legally abided with that.
You said between which hours?
Between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the evening. Within that time. Your Honor, this was consequently reviewed when he was directed to keep curfew, or rather to observe curfew, and be indoors between 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Your Honor, he abided by those directives dutifully. There was no single instance where his bail at the High Court in the UK was ever revoked for breach of the terms. There is no day any warrant of arrest was issued against him for disappearing or for not explaining his whereabouts. The police never raised any complaint that he ever missed or failed to present himself as required before them for that duration. My Lord, during that time, and right from the year 2007, Your Honor, the travel documents of my client were actually taken by the British authorities and placed in their custody. That means his passport and all other his identification documents. for purposes of confining him within their jurisdiction. For the last 13 years, Your Honor, his passport has been in the hands of the British authorities. Upon seeking to carry out the extradition order, Your Honor, the British authorities combed everywhere they could, and they were unable to find his passports and his travel documents. They were able to explain the same to their Kenyan counterparts, and my client, Your Honor, was permitted to travel under special arrangement between the two authorities. As we speak, he has no passport, which he may deposit.
All right, the trial of Gilbert Dare has begun officially, and he has pleaded not guilty of 5 charges of child stealing between 1999 and 2004. Let's put this to perspective. And already, being a lawyer, already you can see there is something that might complicate the case of the prosecution, because from where I sit, all those children are unidentified, and all those children have unnamed parents. How would the prosecution go on with the case where you can't name the parents? So I know it's against the state, but who is the complainant? Who are the complainants in this case?
Okay, yes, that's an issue, because they were saying that the children have been stolen, and the theft, and they're saying that the children who are named something with a son named Dare, but for some reason whose parents are unknown. The suggestion here would appear to be, I think this is where the DNA evidence might be. I think what they will be saying is that Gilbert Dare claimed parentage of these children, but the DNA showed that he could not have been the parent. So by asserting that, then there's a presumption that you probably acquired these children unlawfully.
Because we know there must be DNA for everyone. All right. And as we conclude this, what's happening currently in court is the bail application, as you mentioned earlier. So this is a bail application. From there, where do we go as we conclude this discussion?
From the bail application, if the decision is made to grant him bail, fine, he goes. If the decision is made not to, the court then goes ahead today. After the bail application decision is made, whichever way, whether it's granted bail or not, the court will fix a date for the hearing.
Okay.
At that point, then the prosecution will start presenting its cases. But there's something there that the advocate has done, which is made an application to be provided, which is now a constitutional right, that all the statements and all the documents that the prosecution will intend to rely on be provided to them prior to the start of the hearing. Because it's a constitutional right that the accused person be given all the evidence that is required and be afforded an opportunity in terms of time to prepare his defense.
So it might drag on for a while. They might ask for a later date, probably at the end of the year or something like that. But the most urgent right now is the bail application for Dare, so that the case is heard while he's outside or inside. So very well said. Let's now move to other issues, because this is a case that will drag us on and on. And this is the issue of the IBC. The High Court yesterday ordered the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to open up the voter register to the public for scrutiny within 48 hours. Now there are much less hours because it's over the night. Now the High Court Judge Odunga directed the electoral body to publish the voter register for public inspection as a clustered polling station. Judge Odunga gave the directions in a case in which Africa Center for Open Governance, that's AFRICOG, Director Gladwell Otieno, wanted the IBC compelled to publicize the register. Further, the court declined to stop the IBC from distributing the voter register to returning officers for use in the August 8th election before being subjected to public inspection in reasonable time frame. Now, the court said that by doing that, it will be interfering with the preparations for the general election. Seku, this is also very important. Yesterday, the landmark coming it was 4 days before the election. Today's 3 days, and the 48 hours is about to elapse. I think it's elapsing tomorrow morning. What are we looking at here? Because on one end, they are asking for the register. On the other, they are telling the court, please stop them from issuing this. Why?
Yes, okay. A little bit of history there. We have this big issue about the sacrosanctity of the electoral register by the IEBC, and people are saying we need it to inspect it because some people want to check out of our suspicions, and some of them may be justified, others may not be, just political hyperbole, that there could be people there who are themselves either doubly registered on more than one polling station or polling center, or people who are dead altogether, but whose names remain on the register.
Okay.
So the reason for this is that somebody wants to be able to inspect, so that if you know, for instance, that Seku claims to be registered in Nairobi, but you're also seeing another Seku winner claiming to be registered in Mombasa, then the issue arises. If it's the same national identity card, then there's the risk of inflating the number of registered voters.
Okay.
So that's an issue of trying to contain electoral malpractice.
All right.
Yes.
We'll be back to this discussion, but first I'm told in Mombasa, trade unions are signing an agreement between NASA leaders, and Ali Hassan Joho, the governor of Mombasa County, and Raila Odinga are in the room signing this agreement with the trade unions, which include KPMG. Let's go live right now to Mombasa and listen in.
As I stand here, I represent all civil servants. As I've said, I'm the national chairman and affiliated to Trade Unions Congress. We are here to make a declaration today, as you have heard, and our declaration is because we've never gotten what workers deserve the government. So we are here to confirm our support for NASA government, which is coming over. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. WASU, as an affiliate of Trade Union Congress, is firmly committed to what the Secretary General of Trade Union Congress is going to sign. As university academic staff, we feel we have been neglected by the Jubilee government. One, recently you saw what happened. We signed a CBA, the government reneged on it. In 2 weeks' time, we saw dons are being downgraded. And as a union, we are the cream de la cream of the society. And we are saying we support the candidature of His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga as WASU. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of KUSU, Kenya University Staff Union, an affiliate of the Trade Unions Congress of Kenya, we stand behind the decision by the Trade Unions Congress of Kenya to formally enter into an agreement with a view of regularizing its relationship with the NASA coalition. We strongly believe that as part and parcel of the public service in this country, we have borne the brand of poor industrial relationship between workers and the government in place. You have seen many a times workers within our public universities out on the streets, and simply because of this mismanagement of the relationship that exists between the workers and the employers. Many a times we have called upon the government to amicably sit down with us and be able to address issues that are bedeviling our universities. And there has been a lot of intransigencies. There has been a lot of laissez-faire approach to issues that are affecting workers. And because of that, workers within our public universities and their constituent colleges have resolved that there has to be a change. They have to support those who are willing to engage them. And when therefore the Trade Unions Congress of Kenya wrote out of all political parties, beginning with the major coalitions in this country, early in the year, it was only NASA that came forward and said, yes, we are willing to engage you, to work with you. And therefore, the one who is willing to listen to you is where you take your concerns, and therefore the need to support. And we support the NASA coalition.
On behalf of the Kenya National Union of Teachers and on delegated responsibility from the Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, who also happens to be the General Secretary of Trade Unions Kenya, I want to affirm the support of the Kenya National Union of Teachers to the decision of the Trade Unions Congress Kenya, being an affiliate of Trade Unions Congress Kenya. So as KNUT, which is a large teachers union in Kenya, and with the challenges that we've had with the previous government, we want to say that we stand very strong with the decisions of the Trade Unions Congress to work very closely with the NASA government, and we are willing to support the good decisions that are going to be made in the signing of the agreement between Trade Unions Congress and the NASA government. We want to really plead with the next government as it comes in that we have a 4-year CBA period, which we signed with the Teacher Service Commission the other day, which we still feel is very uncomfortable because that period of 4 years is not within the limits of ILO. So we want the period to be reduced to 2-year period, and we want to say that if that is done, we are inside the decision that is going to be made today in this historic moment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I come from the Doctors Union. As you may be aware, we are having a similar forum for the healthcare workers unions, two of them. They are both agreed in principle that in the last few months, or in the recent past, the happenings surrounding the healthcare sector has been nothing but joyous. We've had doctors go on strike for 100 days, anything where some of us were incarcerated. My colleague here was in prison, being a prisoner of conscience for a few days because of this regime. Since we are having our moment tomorrow, and the Secretary General is still in the country, it will be an act in minute of if I were to preempt what you'll say. But you've already read my mood. Thank you very much.
On behalf of Dock Workers Union, you all know that Dock Workers Union is affiliated to Trade Union Congress, and as part of the Congress, we are therefore behind, we support, we campaign, and we will vote for NASA government come 8th this month. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's now my humble pleasure to make a collective formal statement on behalf of all the affiliates that have spoken, and I must sincerely thank the affiliates of TUC and all the unions in the public service. The public service in this country for the better part of the period of the freedom of this nation has remained unrespected, and even today as we are seated here, the nurses are out for their 62nd day on strike. Yet the government that we expect to undertake that responsibility and resolve the stalemates has remained silent. This election of 2017 is being conducted against an unfortunate backdrop of total disrespect of workers by the Jubilee government. And that is a clear demonstration and manifestation of an extreme right-wing capitalist government that does not respect workers. And we do not need a lot of logics to understand the philosophy of Jubilee through about workers. All these unions here form the largest formidable independent unions in this country, with the membership numbering 500,000. The core public service, both at the national and the county governments of this republic, the workers that are expected to deliver service on day-to-day basis to make the government function. And if you are the leader of such a government, then you must respect these workers. Our desire has been to be respected and recognized within our own rights as labor movement, but that has been missing. The summary of it all, from 2013, the teacher leaders were arrested and locked in. Not because we were criminals, but we were standing up for the rights of workers.
All right, we have a frozen signal on air. We'll try and get back to Wilson Sosion, who is the Secretary General of NAT and also the Secretary General of the Trade Unions Congress, after the endorsement of NASA from dock workers, the university workers, nurses, and the doctors. As soon as we have a clear signal, we'll get back. But let's conclude the discussion here with Seku Owino. Seku, I just want to mention this, and then we can conclude this discussion. We just understand from court right now that Dare has no passport, has no identification document, and that the British authorities took them away back in 2004. And he only traveled under special arrangements. Now, the thing is, he cannot be registered in court because he doesn't have any documents. What happens going forward?
Registered in court? Okay.
I mean, you have to identify your ID, your passport number, and the rest.
Yes,
I think that's what they mean.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a mechanism by which that can be checked out. Because
Okay.
if he has an ID which was confiscated, there's some supporting documents. So they know this. I'm sure even within the registry of persons, the National Register of Persons, where IDs are given, or the immigration where passports are given, they should be able to ascertain what his passport number is.
Okay.
It can be declared lost, and then you can get duplicates for it. What it may do is maybe complicate his bail application.
Okay. Because then they cannot find something to hold him on.
Yes, that's it. But I don't think that would be an issue, because you remember the magistrate addressed him personally as Gilbert Dare, and he responded. So there is no confusion or contest about his identity. So I don't think it will be a very big issue there.
All right. Thank you very much, Seku Owino, for coming to share that with us. Dare was extradited, came to the country at 4:30. We've been talking about him. Leila Mohammed is reporting from the High Court. We'll have a lot more of those details later on. For now, let's take you back to Mombasa, where NASA is meeting with the Trade Unions Congress.
Is going to add impetus for activities that will remain for the next few days. And we shall hereby urge our members and urge workers, all of us workers in the labor movement, anybody called a worker in this country, should know that Jubilee government is a pure capitalist government that is anti-workers, and that which does not deserve any vote of any worker in this country. We are happy with our structured engagement with NASA. It is not an event of today. It's an engagement that we have done over time. And we are opening up a new chapter of structured relationship with a government that is sensitive to workers. And the MOU that we shall sign today has been negotiated very well. It is detailed and it has taken care of all the workers in the public service. Number one is respect of labor laws in this country and labor standards, respect and recognition of international labor standards, the ILO standards, the conventions that this country has signed. Number two, seamless negotiation of collective bargaining agreements. And of course, within 2 years. If this is done, we will not witness any strike in the public service. The workers of this country shall remain respected and motivated. Beyond that, this country, in its many years of freedom, must have a workable employment policy to resolve the high unemployment rate in this country, which is a huge percentage. We must also have an acceptable industrial relations charter that supports the public service. All this is contained in our agreement. In the teaching service, the unemployment has led to declining quality of public education. That's a fact for truth. And we are happy with the commitment from NASA to ensure employment of 20,000 teachers annually to bridge the gap over a period of 5 years. Surely, which other government are we going to look for other than NASA? And in summary, this is a government that is committed to the social development and the social needs of the nation and respect for workers. And therefore, today, we are very proud as a labor movement to sign a structured memorandum of understanding that will see us working within the first 90 days with NASA government to clean up the entire labor movement and ensure working industrial relations in this country. We would like to see a Ministry of Labor under NASA government that functions and that truly delivers to the workers. And so our is to sign this MOU, and we urge Kenyans of goodwill everywhere, regardless of ethnicity. This is an opportunity to throw away our ethnicity and all manner of thinking and vote Raila Amolo Odinga as the 5th president. In this understanding also, I have been reminded, you know, those who opposed this constitution cannot be trusted to implement the same constitution that they don't understand. And the perfect art that Jubilee administration has put in place is to use a body called Salaries and Remuneration Commission to interfere with the free negotiations by workers and their employers. And this is what has caused confusion. And we are happy with the experts and advisors of NASA, and they agree with us very strongly, and you agree with us, that that was not the intention of the Constitution. SRC cannot be used to interfere with free negotiations. And therefore, one of our agreements is to review and harmonize the role of SRC with the industrial relations within the industrial framework, and specifically to ensure that its wage advisory function does not infringe on the right to collect, does not infringe. It has been misused politically by Jubilee. Every negotiation SRC is dictating, including taking away the right to annual increment of workers, which has happened in the payroll of 1st of July. This will be a thing of the past. To us as workers, this election is about our liberation. It is about extricating and emancipating Kenyans from abject poverty that has been imposed upon them by Jubilee government. We are not being malicious. The wage bill is standing at 4 trillion in only 4 years, up from 1.2 trillion in only 4 years. And this is a great source of concern. I do not wish to make the longest remarks, but may I declare once again that the labor movements that are affiliated to us here shall on 8th of August, together with our families and children and Kenyans whom we can reach, vote for one man who has stood true to this nation. Vote for one man who has been in jail for the sake of the freedom of this nation. A man who has struggled for a new constitution. And a man whose victory has been denied severally by the conspirators of theft of votes during election. And a man who means well and whom we shall see on 8th of August as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, and that is Raila Amolo Odinga, together with Kalonzo Musyoka and the entire team of NASA, so that we can bring change in this country. We therefore urge Kenyans of goodwill and workers to come together on 8th, and we vote, send home Jubilee, and ensure that Raila Amolo Odinga is the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you, and God bless you.
It is now my humble duty to invite the incoming President of the Republic of Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'm Jambo. This is a very important occasion. Actually, you can call it historic occasion. When the political pillar and the pillar of workers converge and come together. I'm saying it's historical in this country because it has happened before. Remember, during the days of the struggle for independence of this country, unions and the political class came together. I remember then we had the Kenya Federation of Labor, led by the late Thomas Joseph Mboya, coming together to support the nationalist movement for freedom of our country. And true enough, Mboya became the Secretary General of KANU at that time, which was the vanguard movement for liberation of our country. Then came independence, and after independence, then there has been a very turbulent relationship between the unions and the government. But I want to give you another parallel example, is that in the UK, if you go to the UK, you'll find that the Labour Party and the Trade Union Congress of the UK have been working together for a very long time. In fact, most of the times the Secretary General of TUC has been also a member of Parliament. The same thing in the United States. You will find that the Democratic Party of the United States works very closely with the trade union movements in the United States. So what we're doing here is not something that is unique or something that has not happened elsewhere. That's why we're saying history is repeating itself here today. The unions represent workers, and in a democratic society, the constitutions provide for the existence of unions. A responsible government which has got a manifesto to implement will always want to see that there is a harmonious relationship with the workers. Industrial peace is what is called for if you really want to have faster socio-economic growth and development. Your country cannot develop if there is disharmony, disquiet with the workers. Industrial disputes are always very costly. Strikes are disruptive and destructive. Disruptive in the sense that when workers down their tools, there's no production going on. And because of that, economy suffers. When teachers down their tools, you see education suffers. Because the students or children have to do their exams within a specified period of time. And the results is that the students will perform below par or expectations. Likewise, when doctors down the tools, the consequences are very grave. Kenyans are very aware of what happened at that time when doctors were on strike for nearly 100 days. Many patients died for what would have been actually prevented if the doctors were available. When the nurses have done the tools that they have done now, a similar effect is noticed all over the country. So it is, in our view, irresponsible of the government not to negotiate. The negotiations are provided for in labor regulations, and you cannot refuse to negotiate. You must negotiate out of a dispute. This is a must. I'm saying this as somebody who has been a prime minister of this republic and who has faced the situations that we have been facing here. And I know how we have confronted those issues. You don't run away from a problem. You confront it and you negotiate. That is the international practice. It is even in the ILO laws and regulations, that you cannot run away from a collective bargaining agreement. You cannot run away from it. State, oh, that was done, you were not consulted, or that is out of context, and so on and so forth. You negotiate. Because if you don't negotiate, then you'll have these industrial disputes, and the dispute will not be resolved. And you can, even if you postpone them, you're not resolving it. You don't resolve a problem by postponing. You actually aggravate it. So we as NASA have said that we want to see industrial peace and harmony. And this is a process that has taken time. We have talked with this union for quite some time. So what we're going to sign today is not something that was just thought about yesterday. It's been a process that has lasted for more than 1 year. We have been talking, quietly behind the scenes. We have a very comprehensive agenda for development of this country. And we will say that as soon as we get in the office, we'll start some issues that we want to resolve within the first 100 days. 100 days of a NASA government. What are we going to do? One of them, you said, we will create industrial harmony, peace within the industry, among the workers of our country. We also said that we are going to deal with disunity in our country. We are going to deal with ethnic exclusion, which has been the hallmark of the Jubilee administration. We ensure that no Kenyan is discriminated against. That each and every Kenyan is treated equally, and that there is equity in terms of distribution of resources, in terms of employment, and so on. Thirdly, we will deal with issues of economy. We will deal with issues of the cost of living, which has, has escalated. Most Kenyans are barely able to put bread on the table. That's why wherever we go, people are talking about unga, unga, unga. That's why we call this unga revolution. Now, some maize flour might have come back to the shops, but this is basically for the purposes of these elections. Ensure that as soon as they're voted, the shops will be empty again. Because Jubilee is not interested in the welfare of our people. The cost of sugar has gone up. The cost of milk is up. What you call the basic commodities that our people need on a daily basis are too high. So this is an issue we are going to address frontally as soon as we come into power. And the issue is corruption. Corruption, again, is the hallmark of Jubilee administration. Out of 1 shilling spent in development in the country today, another shilling goes into someone's private pocket. This is very regrettable, most unfortunate. You see billions of shillings allocated in the budget to Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Roads, and so on. But ultimately, those billions do not go for those developments. Half of what has been allocated ends up being taken away. That's why we say that corruption is killing this country. We will face corruption head on. We will ensure that the institutions that have been empowered under the law and the Constitution to deal with corruption are empowered to work. Are empowered to work. First, by ensuring that the right people are in the right places, and that people who are responsible for corruption are brought to book. We will unify this country. We've committed ourselves to hiring sufficient staff in our teaching institutions. That's why we said 20,000 teachers annually. We know that it is affordable and it is desirable and necessary so that our children can get proper quality education. We want to reduce the teacher-child ratio to a more acceptable levels of standards so that the quality of teaching can also be enhanced in our country. As you know, we have also in our manifesto committed ourselves to free education from nursery to secondary school. And you're saying that we are going to implement this with effect from next month, that is September, the third term. Now, people have been asking, how are you going to do it? And we said, we know. The Jubilee in this current budget has put 7 billion shillings to implement free education from January next year. So we just take that 7 billion and we begin to use it in September. And then going forward, we'll do a supplementary estimate. We're dealing with people who have been in government and we know how the government works. So we know where we're going to get that money. It's not a question of, oh, it's just political gimmicks because of campaign populism. We don't believe in populist policies. What we are offering the people of Kenya are things that we are sure we can implement. And we will implement it effective from 1st of September, that is next month, when we are in power. And it's not as if, but when, because we are sure that on Tuesday next week, Kenyans are going to vote resoundingly for the NASA coalition. And the NASA coalition is going to form the government from next week onwards. So I'm very happy to welcome our brothers here and sisters in signing this agreement. I'm speaking on behalf of my other colleagues who are not here, but they are going to join us shortly after this. Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, my running mate, Honorable Salim Davadi, Honorable Moses Wetangula, Honorable Isaac Ruto, and all other members of our NASA fraternity. As you can see here, I'm accompanied by the governor of Mombasa, Ali Hassan Joho, who is also saying Joho Tano Tena. So thank you. I thank you with those few remarks. Thank you very much.
Right, the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga, they are speaking to the Congress of Trade Unions. Raila Odinga has represented other colleagues in the NASA coalition in signing the agreement with the Trade Unions Congress led by the Secretary General Wilson Sossion. Some of the unions that are present are the Dock Workers Union, WASU, that is the University Staff Union, Kenya National Union of Teachers, the Nurses Union, and the Doctors Union. Peter Mwangangi is reporting live from Mombasa. We shall be speaking to Peter Mwangangi later, but first right here on NTV Today, we take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the sports. Sean is in studio. Stay with us. Good afternoon and welcome back to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu with some news update for you. And first we begin right here in Nairobi. And we take you now live to Uhuru Park, the venue of the last Jubilee rally right here in the capital. Those are live pictures from Uhuru Park as they prepare to receive the leaders from the Jubilee team. President Uhuru Kenyatta currently is in Kiambu County, but he will be back in Nairobi a little bit later on. Before then, President Uhuru Kenyatta will be headed to Suswa, where he will hold a public rally, but that will happen after launching the substation, Ketrako substation, and we are definitely reporting live from Suswa. We are now joined live by Eden, who is reporting from Suswa. Eden, if you can hear me.
In
Suswa, those are pictures from Uhuru Park, where the Jubilee Party plans to hold a rally later on. It's already begun. President Uhuru Kenyatta is in Kiambu County right now, but when he finishes in Kiambu County, he'll be headed to Suswa, where Hudhaifa Eden will be speaking to us shortly. But the live pictures on your screen are from Uhuru Park. Let's speak to Hudhaifa. Good afternoon. Tell us the latest from Suswa, Hudhaifa.
You rightly said the president is in Kiambu, headed to Uhuru Park. He'd come here then again to launch this Suswa power station. But after launching the Suswa power station, he would be going, after launching the Suswa substation, I mean, he would be doing a public rally in Suswa grounds where he'd, of course, talk to the Ma Nation, which for the longest time, the opposition guys, NASA were here the other day, 3 days ago. And I think the president would come here to talk to the Ma community and make them understand that, you know what, the president's development record would take you forward, and if you guys re-elect me. But before all that, the president would come here, launch this power substation, which connects Ethiopia to Kenya, so that they can have a transition line that of power sharing agreement. The power Kenya-Ethiopia power agreement starts from Elbur in Marsabit County, comes through Nanyuki and Oldonyiro, comes to Suswa and this substation. This substation here, of course, all that line is 612 kilometers, but this power station here, this substation here that you can see has a capacity of 220 kilovolt. That is when it starts from Olkaria power station to Suswa. But generally, the Ethiopia, Oldonyiro, Suswa power station holds 500 kilovolts. It's something that has never been seen in the country. The transmission line can carry 500 kilovolts. It's a big project. Of course, you can remember that the president prioritized power and reconnecting homes through the national grid. And in a way, Kenya Electricity Transmission Company is aiding the Jubilee government's manifesto in a way. But the president, as you rightly said, is Kiambu, headed to Uhuru Park for a rally, would be coming to Suswa substation before doing a public rally in Suswa grounds to address the Ma Nation. We would bring you everything as it happens here. We are expecting energy stakeholders to come here. Charles Keter, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy, and many representatives from all power generating companies, from Kengen, Kenya Power Lighting Company, and Ketrako would be with the president, would be with the entourage of the president. But then again, the president would address the Ma Nation at Suswa grounds. This and many more. Join me, Hudhaifa Eden, right here on NTV.
Right, Hudhaifa Eden reporting from Suswa. We understand now the itinerary is Kiambu County, where the president is currently, then to Uhuru Park, which is just gearing up, and it's getting a lot of crowds, and later on to Suswa, where he'll hold a rally. Well, we'll take you there as soon as we have the president in those locations. Well, let's come back right here in Nairobi. And controversial preacher Gilbert Dare has been extradited to Kenya and is facing charges related to child trafficking, actually 5 counts. The preacher is currently in court. Let's take you live now to the court. Those are live pictures from the court where the proceedings are currently underway. We have seen the submissions from the lawyers. Right now, it's the bail application. We just want to bring you up to speed what's happening in court now. We understand as at this time that Dare does not have any travel documents. He came to Kenya under special arrangements and he cannot be registered in court. But earlier on, we had the magistrate that asking him to confirm if he's there. By doing that, specifically, it's been confirmed that it's indeed the preacher televangelist Dare who is in Nairobi to be charged for child trafficking, 5 counts from 1999 to 2004. So right there in court, Leila Mohammed will be reporting from the court a little bit later on as the case proceeds.
The forged court order arising from this judicial review. Yes, just to clarify this issue, Your Honor, during the argument in the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division in London, this is the judicial review which we have referred as to B24. These documents were relied on. That is a notice of appeal and an order of the court arising from the judicial review that was filed here in this country. Your Honor, I wish to refer you to BT4.
Right from the court, Leila Mohammed will be reporting later. Moving on, the African Union Observer Mission led by retired President Thabo Mbeki has asked observers to report any incident they will witness during the general election. The integrity of the election process and the preparedness of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to successfully conduct the election are some of the major issues that key stakeholders in the forthcoming general election have raised with the African Union Observer Mission.
All of the actors, the people who are campaigning to win seats and so on, as well as the people managing the electoral process, that all of them seem to be very happy that the African Union was here. And indeed said some of them that because this is the AU, it becomes the first port of call for them in the event that some complications arise. So I'm really basically saying this, that wherever we're going to be in terms of this deployment, we do need indeed to do this observation. But I think that we should also bear in mind that it may very well be that the contestants might very well approach you, because you are AU observers, to say, please, here is a problem. Can you help to resolve it? And I think if we can, we should.
Former South African President Thabo Mbeki speaking. There are hundreds of Kajiado County youth urged to shun drug and substance abuse and instead focus on improving their lives in an anti-drug abuse campaign in Kajiado dubbed Sauti 47, organized by NACADA in conjunction with Youth Enterprise Fund. The youth were challenged to be the masters of their destiny. According to a recent survey, most youth in Kajiado County abuse hard drugs and bang owing to the fact that the county is a transit road from the Namanga borderline. Sauti 47 outfit aims to traverse the country's 47 counties and sensitize youth on the dangers of drug abuse. They target at least 1,000 youth in each county, especially those already in the murky world of drug abuse. All right, let's take you back to... All right, we'll take you back to court, but first, Sean Caravelis has been waiting in studio with all the sports. Sean?
All right, very good afternoon to you. It is a big day for Kenya. Of course, the World Athletics Championships are getting underway today. And Kenya's athletes in action. It is Kenya's athletes in action in the World Athletics Championships. Kenya taking part in the 10,000 meters this evening. That's the big story, of course. They face Mo Farah. And also Kenya in action with the 1,500 meters women's heats. Let's go live. Well, in fact, we spoke to him a little bit earlier. Elias Makori, who is the sports editor for the Nation Media Group. We got to speak to him on Skype. Here is a preview of the World Athletics Championships. Of course, Kenya in action tonight. And we started off by talking about the 10,000 meters.
It's Mo Farah's last time on the track. Because he says after this he's going to quit and he's going to focus on the marathon. This is the venue, remember, in 2012 where he won a double in the 5,000 meters and the 10,000 meters at the Olympic Games in London here. And he wants to end on a high by winning another double. But, you know, the Kenyans are not going to let him go with it. Kenya has a very strong team, Paul Tanui, Geoffrey Kamoror, and Bedan Kariuki, who are going to line up. It's going to be 9:20 p.m. local time, which is 11:20 p.m.
Should be an intriguing race. Our women are in action, the 1,500 meters, and really that task, well, the main thing for Kenya is to get the women through to the final, huh?
Yeah, interestingly, Kenya has never won a gold medal in the women's 1,500 meters. And after, you know, Faith Chemgetich won gold at the at the Rio Olympics last year, everybody is looking up to her to try and beat again Genzebe Baba. We have Winnie Chebet, we have Judy Kieng, and of course, the Olympic champion is there, Faith Chemgetich. So it should be a fairly good, straightforward start.
Fabulous stuff. Don't forget, of course, the World Athletics Championships gets underway for Kenya on Friday evening. There's the women's 1,500 meters heats, also the men's 10,000 meters final. And as you heard, of course, a Kenyan in action in the men's 100 meters. It should be great stuff. Thanks very much to the sports editor of the Nation Media Group, Elias Makori. All right, just a quick reminder, of course, the 10,000 meters final, that's happening at 11:20 p.m. Kenya time. Football, another big story. This Neymar has completed his world record transfer to Paris Saint-Germain from Barcelona for £200 million. Barcelona confirmed payment for Neymar's €222 million buyout clause has been received earlier yesterday, despite the transfer hitting a stumbling block when La Liga refused to accept the release. Neymar has signed a 5-year contract at the Parc des Princes, where he will face the media today and be formally presented as a PSG player when the club begin their Ligue 1 campaign at home to Amiens tomorrow. Neymar also posted an emotional farewell to Barcelona on his Instagram, thanking the club and insisting the decision to leave was his own. And those are pictures of him at Barcelona's airport. He has arrived in Paris. That is confirmed. This Steph Curry was not quite as accurate on the golf course as he was on the hardwood, but the NBA star did not embarrass himself when he teed up at the secondary Webcom tour yesterday. Curry, who plays point guard for the Golden State Warriors, carded a 4/74, and not quite a Spieth-like performance, but enough to finish the first round ahead of several performances. That's professionals at the Ellie Mae Classic in Hayward, California. Curry knocked 3 bogeys in his first 5 holes, but then held together his score pretty well after that, suffering 1 double bogey, but avoiding major disasters in a round of 3 birdies. Twice NBA's most valuable player, Curry seeking to become the first athlete from another sport to make the cut on the Web.com tour. All right, just a quick reminder, of course, Kenya in action at the World Athletics Championships, and it is at 11:20 p.m. the men's 10,000 meters final. And just to let you know, of course, the 100 meters heat, Kenya's represented, and also the women's 1,500 meters heats. Ken, the other big story, of course, this evening in the 100 meters final, Usain Bolt begins his quest and, of course, his final championships. And this, of course, will be the final weekend you see him run a 100 meters race.
Right, and we are well aware, Sean, that he's retiring from that race. Thank you very much, Sean. With all the sports, let's now take you back to Suswa, where Hudhaifa Eden is standing by. You know, the president will be in Suswa, first to launch the substation, and secondly, for a political rally. Let's now take you live to Hudhaifa. Hudhaifa.
Ken, and as you rightly mentioned, that the president is expected here to commission this project, but then again to do a political rally. But before then, I think you guys had the pictures of Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter being here. He landed here a few minutes ago. He's waiting for the president, and of course, many other energy stakeholders are here. But right now, I'm joined by the General Manager for Technical Services of KETRACO, Dr. Joseph Siror, who will tell us briefly about the whole project and what is involved. Karibu, Daktari.
Thank you so much.
Kindly briefly tell us about the whole project, which starts in the Ethiopian border.
Yeah, there are a number of projects really that Kenya Electricity Transmission Company is undertaking, and possibly, if you'll allow me, I can just briefly mention what KETRACO is all about. They are in the energy sector. There are different categories of the players. Of importance are those who generate energy. That is where you have KenGen. That's also where you have GDC. You also have independent power producers. And then it's KETRACO that comes in next to evacuate power from the generation plants and take them to where they are required. So the player that comes after KETRACO would be Kenya Power and Lighting, who will then distribute power to all the consumers and the retailers. Now, the challenge in the past has actually been that whereas the distribution network has been growing very rapidly, the transmission network has not equally been growing. And the challenge that poses is that the stability of the network is compromised, and also in terms of resilience, the resilience, availability, and reliability of the network cannot actually be at the level that is required. So it was then that Kenya Electricity Transmission Company was formed. And I would want to note at this point that since 1954 to the year 2007, when KETRACO came on board, the total transmission line length was 3,000 kilometers. And as we are here today, the length is actually approaching 5,000. That means that we have almost doubled, within that very short time, we have almost doubled what it took close to 50 years to actually do. And now, coming to this particular project, and again, which is part of the mandate of KETRACO, one of them is to avail power in places which were not served in the past. The other one is to strengthen the grid. And the way the grid is strengthened is that we create what is called redundancies. Like in the past, Nairobi, actually to date, Nairobi has been served by Olkaria through only one double circuit transmission line. That is the one going to Nairobi North, that is in Dandora. Now, the challenge of having such a configuration is that whenever there is any challenge on that particular transmission line, you would actually encounter a whole outage in the city of Nairobi. But right now, with this project coming on board, we have a new line that is Suswa Isinya. And then from Isinya, of course, it goes to Embakasi. And then we have another one that is Mombasa, Nairobi, that is actually, that will enable power to be evacuated from Olkaria via Suswa, now to Isinya, and then to Mombasa. Now, the importance of that particular transmission line is that to date, Mombasa has heavily depended on thermal power. And the underside of that is that thermal sources are usually very expensive. And not only are they expensive, but they are also not environmental friendly by virtue of the carbon emissions, the carbon dioxide, and the pollution to the environment. So we are actually gaining a lot in terms of the price that energy is going to be available at, and also at the same time in terms of the levels of pollution that are going to experience in the coastal region. So on the side of redundancy or strengthening the grid, what we are actually providing is that now there will be an alternative source or alternative path of powering Nairobi through the line that is going to Athi River. And even as we talk right now, Athi River also, which has where the cement factories and a number of industries there have depended heavily also on thermal, are currently, as we are talking, being served by the cheaper geothermal sources. So yes, there are a number of projects. There are a number of projects which are passing here Suswa. Of importance to note is what you had mentioned before. That is the Kenya-Ethiopia transmission line. That is the length between Suswa and the border that is going to Ethiopia is actually about 600 kilometers. There is also another 400 from the border to a place where it is starting in Ethiopia called Wolaita Sodo. The other projects that are also coming to Suswa here is the Loyangalani Suswa. This is the one that is going to enable the 300 megawatts that is from the wind power to be available here in the country. and to be available here at Suswa, and then which can actually go to the various parts. Now, the Kenya-Ethiopia line, the importance of that particular transmission line is that it will enable what we call power trade in the region. What we mean by power trade is that the energy resources available in the different countries in the region are not the same. There are those which have excess, and then there are those which have less. Now, those which have excess have at times no mechanism of ensuring that that is put to useful use, while those who have less are forced to use expensive thermal sources. Now, with completion of that line,
thank you so much, Dr. Soriru. Of course, we'll be talking about this and many more later when the president and his delegation comes here. But then again, Ken, I'll be handing back to you so that we can bring you more when the president is here. Thank you.
Hudhaifa Eden reporting extensively from Suswa, where Bridget Ngana is also reporting from Hudhaifa, the business angle, and Bridget Ngana, the political angle. Thank you very much for watching NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu. We are glad you're watching. NTV Sasa will be on air shortly, but remember, we'll be back live in Suswa, and all the stories we are following up for you will also have all of them. So stay with us. NTV Sasa with Rashid Abdallah will be on air shortly. Stay with us and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.